Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. When you picture the American flag, what comes to mind? Probably the stars and stripes we all know today, right? But what if I told you that long before Old Glory ever waved, the American colonies were a patchwork of different banners, each with its own story. The journey to our modern flag is a fascinating, tangled tale of rebellion, identity, and the slow birth of a nation. Today, we're rediving deep into the very first chapter of that story. The flags that were unite yet asterisk. The asterisk flag. So, buckle up, because we're about to travel back in time to an era when the idea of a single, united American symbol was just a distant dream. Before the first shots of the Revolution were fired at Lexington and the most common flag you'd see across the 13 colonies was, ironically, a British one. The Red Ensign, also known as the Colonial Red Ensign, was the official flag for British merchant ships, and by extension, the colonies. It featured the Union Jack, the combined crosses of St. George of England and St. Andrew of Scotland, in the canto in the upper left corner, against a bold red field. For most colonists, this flag wasn't a symbol of oppression. It was a symbol of their identity as proud British subjects. It represented the protection of the powerful British Navy, access to global trade routes, and a shared heritage. Flying the Red Ensign was a declaration of loyalty to the crown. Little did they know that this very loyalty would soon be tested in the most dramatic way possible. But as tensions with Great Britain began to simmer in the 1760s and 70s, new symbols of protest started to emerge. People needed a way to express their growing discontent, and flags were the perfect medium. One of the most famous early protest banners was the Sons of Liberty flag. This wasn't one single design, but rather a concept that took different forms. The most well-known version featured 9 vertical stripes, alternating red and white. These 9 stripes are believed to represent the 9 colonies that attended the Stamp Act Congress in 1765, a pivotal moment of unified colonial opposition to British taxation. When this flag was raised on a liberty pole, often in the center of town, it was a clear and defiant signal. It was a visual rallying cry, a message to both London and fellow colonists that a spirit of resistance was taking hold. It was a powerful statement that said, "We are united in our opposition." Another iconic symbol from this period is the Gadsden flag, which you've probably seen before. It's the one with the coiled rattlesnake on a bright yellow background, with the stark warning, "Don't tread on me." This powerful imagery was first popularized by none other than Benjamin Franklin. In a satirical newspaper article, he suggested that since Britain was sending convicted criminals to America, the colonies should return the favor by sending rattlesnakes to England. The rattlesnake became a potent symbol of America itself. It was unique to the continent. It didn't strike unless provoked, but it was deadly when it did. The Gadsden flag, designed by Continental Colonel Christopher Gadsden, captured this spirit perfectly. It was a warning, a declaration of American resolve, and a caution to the British Empire not to push the colonies too far. It wasn't a national flag, but it was a flag that embodied the fierce, independent spirit that was fueling the revolutionary fire. As the colonies moved closer to open conflict, the need for a more unified banner became obvious. Militias were forming, and the Continental Army was established, but they were all fighting under different flags. You had the pine tree flag in New England, Whitteats, motto an appeal to heaven, symbolizing the region's resilient and independent nature. You had various other local banners. It was chaotic. A commander needed to be able to distinguish his troops from the enemy on a smoky battlefield. This practical need led to the creation of the first flag intended to represent all 13 colonies together. The Grand Union flag, also known as the Continental Colors. The Grand Union flag was a crucial stepping stone. It looked surprisingly familiar, yet different. It featured 13 alternating red and white stripes, just like our flag today, representing the unity of the 13 colonies. But in the canton, where we now have stars, it still had the British Union Jack. This design was a perfect symbol of the colonists' mindset in late 1775. They were fighting against the British Parliament's unfair policies and the King's troops, but many still considered themselves British subjects seeking to have their rights restored. The Grand Union flag beautifully captured this contradiction. The stripes said, "We are 13 united colonies, while the Union Jack said, "But we are still loyal to the British Crown." It was a flag of rebellion and reconciliation all at once. On January 1st, 1776, George Washington ordered the Grand Union flag to be raised over his headquarters at Prospect Hill, near Boston. It was a historic moment, the first time a distinct, semi-national flag flew over the Continental Army. It signaled to the British forces occupying Boston that the colonists were a united front, no longer just a disorganized rabble. However, the design caused some confusion. When the British saw the Union Jack on the flag, they initially thought the colonists were. Washington and others quickly realized that this doily flag was not sustainable. As the cause shifted from a fight for rights to a full-blown war for independence, the symbol of the oppressor, the Union Jack, had to go. The Grand Union flag served its purpose, bridging the gap between colonial protest and national revolution, but its days were numbered. The Declaration of Independence in July 1776 changed everything. There was no turning back. The colonies were now states, and they were fighting to create a new, independent nation. They needed a flag that reflected this new reality, a flag free from any trace of the British Empire. The Grand Union flag, with its Union Jack, was now obsolete. The stage was set for a new symbol, one that would represent the birth of the United States of America. And that leads us to the legendary story of the first Stars and Stripes, a story filled with as much myth as fact, which we will explore in our next chapter. From the loyal Red Ensign to the defiant Gadsden Snake and the transitional Grand Union, these early banners tell the story of a people finding their voice and forging an identity. They show us that the American flag wasn't born in a single day. It was woven thread by thread, stripe by stripe, through years of debate, protest, and conflict. These flags that weren't yet a flag are a vital part of our history, reminding us that symbols matter, and that the journey to nationhood is often a long and complicated one. Thank you so much for joining me on this historical journey today. I hope you found it as fascinating as I do. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And do you want to forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you do want to miss the next chapter in our story of the American flag? Let me know in the comments which of these early flags is your favorite. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Hello history lovers, and welcome back. Last time, we explored the early flags of the American Revolution. Today, we're diving into Chapter 2, the birth of the Stars and Stripes. Fasten your seatbelts, because we're heading back to 1777. The year is 1777. The Revolutionary War is raging. The Continental Army, under George Washington, is fighting for the very soul of a new nation. But this fledgling country needs a symbol, a banner to rally under, a flag that declares its identity to the world. On a warm summer day, June 14th, 1777, the Second Continental Congress, gathered in Philadelphia, passes a resolution. It's brief, almost understated, but its impact will echo through centuries. I'm quoting here. Resolve that the flag of the 13 United States be 13 stripes, alternate red and white, that the Union be 13 stars, white in a blue field, representing a new constellation whose like that the Stars and Stripes was born. 13 stripes for the 13 colonies that dared to declare independence. 13 stars, a new constellation in the political heavens. It was a powerful, poetic statement. Red for hardiness and valor, white for purity and innocence, and blue for vigilance, perseverance, and justice. This wasn't just a piece of cloth. It was the embodiment of an ideal. This new flag was a crucial step. Up until this point, American forces had fought under a variety of banners. The Grand Union flag, with its British Union Jack in the corner, was becoming increasingly awkward as the colonies moved from seeking rights as Englishmen to demanding complete independence. A new flag was needed, one that completely severed ties with the old world. Imagine being a soldier in the Continental Army. You've been marching for miles, you're tired, you're hungry, and you're far from home. Then, you see it, flying proudly over the camp. Not the flag of a distant king, but your asterisk flag. 13 stars, 13 stripes. It's a reminder of what you're fighting for, a new nation built on liberty and the promise of self. It's a symbol of unity, a visual representation that the 30 and disparate colonies are now one. But here's where the story gets really interesting and a little bit murky. The resolution tells us what the flag should look like, but it leaves out two crucial details: who designed it and exactly how the stars should be arranged. This ambiguity has led to one of the most enduring and debated legends in American history. Enter Betsy Ross. The name is almost as famous as the flag itself. The story, as many of us learned it in school, is a charming one. In the spring of 1776, a secret committee consisting of George Washington, Robert Morris, and George Ross visits Betsy Ross, a Philadelphia upholsterer and flag maker. They present her with a rough sketch of a flag. The sketch has 6 pointed stars, but Betsy, a skilled seamstress, demonstrates how a 5-pointed star is much easier and quicker to cut with a single snip of the scissors. Impressed, the committee agrees, and Betsy Ross stitches the very first American flag. It's a wonderful story. It puts a woman, a working-class artisan, at the very center of this pivotal moment in American history. It personalizes the flag's creation, turning a government resolution into a hands-on, patriotic act. For decades, this story has been a staple of American folklore. But is it true? Well, let's put on our historian hats and examine the evidence. The first public mention of this story didn't happen until nearly a century later. In 1870, it was told by Betsy's grandson, William Canby, in a speech to the Historical Society of Pennsylvania. He presented sworn affidavits from family members who recalled hearing the story from Betsy herself. However, historians have found no contemporary evidence, no letters, no diaries, no official government records from the 1770s to support this claim. There are no minutes from the Continental Congress mentioning a flag committee. George Washington's own meticulously kept records have no entry about visiting a flag maker. While Betsy Ross was indeed a flag maker in Philadelphia, and records show she was paid by the Pennsylvania State Navy Board for making flags, there's no concrete link to her creating the *first, stars and stripes. So, if not Betsy Ross, then who? This leads us to our second contender, Francis Hopkinson. Unlike Betsy Ross, Hopkinson has a much stronger documentary trail. He was a delegate from New Jersey to the Continental Congress, a signer of the Declaration of Independence, a poet, a musician, and a talented graphic designer. He was instrumental in designing various seals and symbols for the new United States government. In 1780, Hopkinson sent a letter to the Board of Admiralty, claiming credit for designing the flag. He wrote that he had designed the flag of the United States of America and requested payment for his work. What did he want? Not money, but a quarter cask of the public wine. It seems a fair trade for designing a national icon, don't you think? His claim is supported by other designs he created, which feature similar star and stripe motifs. He designed the Great Seal of New Jersey and the Continental Board of Admiralty seal, both of which incorporate elements of the American flag. The evidence strongly suggests that, as the chairman of the Navy Board's Middle Department, Hopkinson was the most likely person to have been responsible for the flag's graphic design, which the resolution of June 14, 1777, merely formalized. So why isn't Francis Hopkinson a household name like Betsy Ross? There are a couple of reasons. First, his claim was denied, not because he didn't design the flag, but because the Auditor General, James Milligan, argued that Hopkinson was already a public servant, and that he couldn't be the sole creator. He had received input from others. So, Hopkinson never got his wine. Second, the Betsy Ross story is, frankly, a better story. It's more personal, more relatable, and it highlights the contribution of an ordinary citizen. The image of a skilled craftswoman convincing the nation's top leaders to change their design is more romantic and democratic than the story of a politician submitting a design as part of his government duties. So, what's the verdict? Most modern historians credit Francis Hopkinson as the most likely designer of the flag, based on the available documentary evidence. The Betsy Ross story is largely considered a patriotic legend, a piece of folklore that blossomed in the late 19th century, a time when Americans were looking for heroes and foundational myths to celebrate the nation's centennial. But does that mean the Betsy Ross story has no value? Not at all. It speaks to a deeper truth about the revolution. The fight for independence wasn't just fought by generals and politicians. It was supported by ordinary people, farmers, artisans, merchants, and women like Betsy Ross who contributed in countless ways. Her story, fact, or legend has inspired generations and represents the vital role of women in the founding of the nation. Ultimately, the flag's power doesn't come from a single designer. It comes from what it represents. It's a symbol that was born in a revolution, sanctified in a civil war, and has traveled from the moon to the farthest reaches of our world. It's a living piece of history, constantly evolving. Speaking of evolution, the flag didn't just stop at 13 stars. As new states joined the Union, the flag had to change. But how? Should they add a new stripe asterisk, an asterisk, a new star for each state? We'll explore the flag's growing pains and transformations in our next chapter. Thanks for journeying back to 1777 with me. It's a story where fact and myth are woven together, just like the threads of the flag itself. What do you think? Team Betsy or Team Francis? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're enjoying this trip through history, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter. Until then, stay curious. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If you're passionate about history, design, and the incredible stories behind iconic symbols, you're in the right place. Today, we're diving into Chapter 3. The first, Design 13, Stars in a Circle. Get ready to journey back in time and uncover the fascinating origins of America's very first flag. It's a story of ingenuity, symbolism, and a fledgling nation finding its visual identity. So, imagine this. The year is 1777. The Continental Congress has just declared independence, and the 13 colonies are now states, fighting for their freedom. But what about a flag? A unifying symbol to rally behind, to declare their presence on the world stage, and to inspire their people. This wasn't just about pretty colors. It was about nation building, about showing the world exactly who they were. On June 14, 1777, a resolution was passed, stating, resolved, that the flag of the United States be 13 stripes, alternate red and white, that the Union be 13 stars, white in a blue field, representing a new constellation. Simple, yet profoundly powerful. And this is where our story truly begins, with those 13 stars. Now, why a circle? This isn't just an aesthetic choice. It's deeply symbolic. Think about it. A circle has no beginning and no end. It represents eternity, unity, equality, and completeness. For 13 brand new states, still finding their footing and learning to work together, this was paramount. The circle design visually reinforced the idea that no one state was superior to another. All 13 were equal, bound together in a perpetual union. It projected a message of solidarity, reminding everyone that their collective strength lay in their unity. Each star represented a sovereign state, shining brightly in the blue field. A new constellation indeed. This imagery was a clear nod to the idea of a new nation rising, a new order of things. It wasn't just a collection of individual entities. It was a cohesive whole, a celestial body formed from individual points of light. This was a radical idea for its time, a powerful visual statement of a unified republic. The earliest versions of this flag were often handmade, crafted by skilled seamstresses and passionate patriots. We often hear the story of Betsy Ross, though historical evidence is a bit fuzzy on whether she designed the very first one. What we do know is that countless women poured their hearts into stitching these flags, transforming fabric into a powerful symbol of hope and defiance. Imagine the careful hand-stitching, the precise placement of each star, the sense of purpose behind every needle stroke. These weren't mass-produced items. They were labors of love, imbued with the spirit of a revolution. These flags weren't just decorative. They were hoisted on ships sailing into battle, carried by soldiers marching into the unknown, and displayed proudly in newly liberated towns. They became instant beacons, communicating defiance, hope, and the birth of a nation. When a soldier looked up and saw that flag, with its circle of stars, they weren't just seeing cloth. They were seeing their future, their freedom, and the promise of a united country. It was a tangible representation of their shared struggle and their collective aspirations. The simplicity of the design itself is a testament to the clarity of the vision. 13 stripes for the original colonies, red symbolizing valor and bravery, white signifying purity and innocence. And then, those 13 white stars in a blue field, symbolizing vigilance, perseverance, and justice. The colors themselves carried deep meaning, carefully chosen to convey the virtues and ideals upon which this new nation was founded. This first true American flag, with its iconic circle of stars, laid the foundational visual grammar for every American flag that followed. It established core principles of unity, equality, and the representation of states. Even as the nation grew and more stars were added, the underlying philosophy of the Union of States, visually expressed, remained. The circle pattern, while eventually evolving into rows as the number of states grew too large for a practical circle, cemented the initial concept of a collective equal identity. It is truly inspiring to think about how something so simple and handmade could carry such immense weight and meaning. It wasn't just a piece of fabric. It was a declaration, a promise, and a symbol of a radical experiment in some. The flag told a story even before a single word was spoken about its meaning. It spoke of a fresh start, a break from old-world monarchies, and the birth of a truly democratic ideal. So, the next time you see an early American flag design, take a moment to appreciate those 13 stars in a circle. It's more than just an old design. It's a powerful narrative of unity, resilience, and the birth of a nation's identity. It reminds us that every symbol has a story, and understanding that story helps us connect more deeply with our past and appreciate the journey that brought us to today. Thank you so much for joining me on this historical dive. If you enjoyed learning about the first American flag, please hit that like button, share this video with a fellow history enthusiast, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more fascinating insights into history and design. Your support means the world, and I can't wait to share our next chapter with you. Hey everyone! And welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, we're on an incredible journey exploring the fascinating history of flags, and today, we're diving into a truly pivotal era. Get ready for Chapter 4. The early flags of war and sea. This is where the stars and stripes truly began to take its legendary shape, flying proudly from forts to ships, through the smoke of battle and across the vast, salty oceans. It's a story of innovation, bravery, and the birth of a nation's enduring symbol. Imagine the late 18th century. The American Revolution is in full swing, and a fledgling nation is fighting for its very existence. Before the iconic 13-stripe flag we recognize today became standardized, there was a period of incredible diversity and improvisation. Each flag was slightly different, each star often sewn by hand, unique, yes, but always united in its purpose. These weren't just pieces of cloth. They were powerful declarations of independence, rallying cries for freedom, and symbols of the sacrifices made by ordinary people doing extraordinary things. One of the most famous early examples is the Grand Union flag, sometimes called the Continental Colors. Before the official stars and stripes, this banner featured 13 red and white stripes, representing the original colonies, combined with the British Union Jack and the canton. It's a fascinating snapshot of a nation in transition, still acknowledging its past, while boldly forging a new future. George Washington himself hoisted this flag on New Year's Day, 1776, marking a significant moment in the struggle. It flew over his headquarters, inspiring troops even as they faced the might of the British Empire. This flag embodies the complex identity of the nascent United States, striving for independence, while still entangled in its colonial roots. Then came the legendary Flag Act of 1777, passed by the Continental Congress on June 14th, a day we now celebrate as Flag Day. This act declared that the flag of the United States be 13 stripes, alternate red and white, that the Union be 13 stars, white in a blue field, representing a new constellation. This was a monumental decision, creating the foundational design that would evolve into our modern flag. But here's the cool part. The act didn't specify the arrangement of the stars, their shape, or even the precise dimensions of the flag. This led to an amazing array of variations, each with its own charm and story. Think about the famous Betsy Ross flag. While the story of Betsy Ross sewing the first flag is a beloved legend, historical evidence is a bit scarce. However, the design attributed to her, with the stars arranged in a circle, became incredibly popular and iconic. This circular arrangement symbolized unity and eternity, with no state taking precedence over another. But it wasn't the only design. Other flags featured stars in rows, in scattered patterns, or even in geometric formations. Each flag maker, each ship captain, each fort commander might interpret the instructions slightly differently, leading to a vibrant tapestry of early American flags. These early flags weren't just decorative, they were crucial for identification, especially during wartime. On the high seas, amidst the chaos of naval battles, a ship's flag was its identity. It signaled allegiance, distinguished friend from foe, and could be a symbol of defiance or surrender. Imagine a small American brig outmatched by a British warship, but flying the stars and stripes with unyielding determination. That flag became a beacon of hope and a testament to their resolve. Let's talk about some of the specific military and naval uses. On land, flags flew over continental army encampments and fortifications. They marked territory, boosted morale, and provided a visible symbol of American presence. The sight of the stars and stripes fluttering over a newly captured fort or a beleaguered encampment would have been a powerful emotional boost for the soldiers. It wasn't just about patriotism. It was about belonging, about fighting for a shared future. At sea, flags were even more vital. American privateers and naval vessels sailed the world's oceans, often far from home, relying on their colors to identify themselves. The fledgling U.S. Navy, despite its small size, made its presence known through these flags. Famous naval heroes like John Paul Jones, known for his declaration, "I have not yet begun to fight," would have hoisted these early versions of the Stars and Stripes, inspiring his crews to extraordinary acts of bravery. The flag became a symbol of American maritime prowess and a challenge to the established naval powers of the world. The evolution continued. As new states joined the Union, the flag changed. The Flag Act of 1794 increased the number of stars and stripes to 50, reflecting the admission of Vermont and Kentucky. T-15 Star, 15-stripe flag, is perhaps most famously associated with the War of 1812. It was this flag that inspired Francis Scott Key to write the Star-Spangled Banner after witnessing the bombardment of Fort McHenry in 1814. Imagine the scene: dawn breaking over the fort, the smoke slowly clearing, and through it all, our flag was still there. That enduring image, captured in song, speaks to the power and resilience symbolized by the stars and stripes. This period, from the late 1700s to the early 1800s, was a time of dynamic growth and significant challenges for the United States. And through it all, the flag evolved, a living symbol of a developing nation. Each seam, each star, each stripe on these early flags tells a story of ambition, struggle, and the unwavering spirit of a people determined to be free. They remind us that the journey of a nation, like the evolution of its flag, is a continuous process shaped by history, sacrifice, and hope. These early flags, though varying in their artistic interpretations, all shared a common message: unity. They represented the collective will of 13, and then 15, independent states coming together to form a more perfect union. They flew over the battlefields where freedom was won, and over the seas where American commerce and influence began to spread. They were silent witnesses to the birth pangs of a great nation. So, the next time you see the Stars and Stripes, remember its humble and diverse beginnings. Remember the hands that sewed those early stars, the wind that whipped those unique flags over forts and ships, and the brave individuals who rallied beneath them. It's a history rich with stories, and these early flags are absolutely central to understanding the soul of America. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the early flags of war and sea. If you enjoyed learning about these fascinating historical banners, please give this video a big thumbs up, share it with your friends, and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Your support helps us continue exploring these incredible stories. And don't forget to ring that notification bell so you don't miss our next chapter. See you next time. Hello and welcome back to our journey through the history of the American flag. Today, we're diving into Chapter 5, a period defined by a truly iconic version of Old Glory, the Star-Spangled Banner. From 1795 to 1818, the flag of the United States looked quite different from the one we know today. It featured 15 stars and, uniquely, 15 stripes. Why? 15. Well, after the original 13 colonies, 2 new states, Vermont and Kentucky, joined the Union. The decision was made to add not only a star, but also a stripe for each new state. This design would hold for over 2 decades, witnessing a young nation navigate a complex and often perilous world. This wasn't just any flag. It was a symbol of a growing, expanding America. It flew over government buildings, sailed the high seas on the masts of American merchant ships, and was carried by the military. Each star and each stripe represented a piece of the burgeoning nation, a testament to its resilience and ambition. The idea was simple. As the nation grew, so would its flag. But as we'll see, this a stripe for every state policy would soon prove to be a bit impractical. Imagine a flag with 50 stripes today. It would look more like a barcode than a banner. This period was a crucial learning curve in the flag's design evolution. The most legendary moment for the 15-star, 15-stripe flag came during the War of 1812, a conflict often called the Second War of American Independence. The war was a fierce struggle against the formidable power of Great Britain. In the summer of 1814, British forces were on a rampage. They had even marched on Washington, D.C. and burned the White House. The next target on their list was Baltimore, Maryland, a vital port city. The key to capturing Baltimore was to first neutralize Fort McHenry, which stood guard at the mouth of the harbor. The fort's commander, Major George Armistead, was determined to defend it. He wanted a flag so large that the British would have no difficulty in seeing it from a distance. That's where Mary Pickett, a professional flag maker from Baltimore, enters our story. She, along with her daughter, nieces, and an indentured servant, was commissioned to create this enormous garrison flag. The final product was a colossal 30 by 42 feet. Can you even picture that? Each of its 15 stars was 2 feet across, and each of its 15 stripes was 2 feet wide. It was sewn from hundreds of yards of English wool bunting and cotton for the stars. It was a massive undertaking, assembled on the floor of a local brewery because no other space was large enough. This was the flag that would soon become a legend. In September 1814, the British naval fleet unleashed a furious bombardment on Fort McHenry. For 25 relentless hours, cannons roared and rockets lit up the stormy night sky. A young American lawyer and amateur poet named Francis Scott Key was watching from a ship in the harbor. He was on a diplomatic mission to negotiate the release of an American prisoner. As the battle raged through the night, Key could only see the fort illuminated by the fiery explosions of the British attack. He anxiously awaited the morning, desperate to know if the fort had fallen. As dawn broke on September 14th, the bombardment ceased. Through the smoke and the dawn's early light, Key strained his eyes to see. And there it was, battered but not broken. The great flag, Mary Pickersgill's masterpiece, was still flying proudly over Fort McHenry. The American defense had held it. The sight was so profoundly moving, so inspiring, that Key was compelled to capture the moment. He began to jot down the words to a poem on the back of a letter he had in his pocket. He titled it, Defense of Fort McHenry. The poem began with the now famous lines, "Oh, say, can you see, by the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming." He described the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, which gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. His words perfectly encapsulated the relief, pride, and patriotism of that moment. The poem was an instant hit. It was quickly printed in newspapers across the country and set to the tune of a popular British song, though it would take more than a century. Key's powerful tribute to the flag and the brave defenders of Fort McHenry would officially become America's national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner, in 1931. This flag, therefore, represents more than just a historical design. It represents a pivotal moment when the American flag became intertwined with the very soul of the nation as identity. It was no longer just a government banner. It was a symbol of endurance, a beacon of hope that had withstood the fire of war. The story of the bombardment of Fort McHenry transformed the flag into a cherished emblem of American perseverance. The original Star-Spangled Banner, the very one that flew over the fort, is now one of the most treasured artifacts at the Smithsonian Institution's National Museum of American History, a powerful physical link to this incredible story. As more states joined the Union, it became clear that adding both a star and a stripe for each new state wasn't sustainable. The flag was becoming unwieldy. So, in 1818, Congress passed the Flag Act, which set the design we recognize today. It returned the number of stripes to the original 13 to honor the founding colonies, and dictated that a new star would be added for each new state on the 4th of July, following its admission. This act solidified the flag's design, creating the adaptable and enduring symbol we have now. The era of the 15-stripe flag came to a close, but its legacy was cemented forever by the dramatic events in Baltimore Harbor. So, the next time you hear the Star-Spangled Banner, remember the flag that inspired it. A flag with 15 stars and 15 stripes. A flag sewn by a dedicated woman. A flag that survived a 25-hour bombardment. And a flag that inspired a poem that would become the anthem of a nation. It is a powerful reminder of the deep history and profound meaning woven into the fabric of the American flag. Thank you so much for joining me for this chapter. The story of our flag is the story of America, full of trials, triumphs, and incredible moments of inspiration. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And do you and T forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you won't miss our next chapter. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious. Hello everyone, and welcome back to our journey through the history of the American flag. Today, we're diving into Chapter 6, a truly pivotal moment that often gets overlooked, the 1818 Flag Act. This is the story of how the flag we know today finally got its definitive design rules, a decision that has stood the test of time for over 200 years. So, let's set the stage. As we saw in our last chapter, the Star-Spangled Banner, the flag that flew over Fort McHenry, had 15 stripes and 15 stars. This was a result of the Second Flag Act of 1794, which added a star and a stripe for each new state, Vermont and Kentucky. But think about it for a second. The United States was growing, and growing fast. After Kentucky, Tennessee was admitted in 1796, followed by Ohio in 1803, Louisiana in 1812, and Indiana in 1816. By 1817, Mississippi was on the verge of joining the Union. If the country kept adding both a stripe and a star for every new state, what would the flag look like? Imagine a flag with 20 stripes. Or Trenton. Or 50. It would quickly become a visual mess. The stripes would have to get thinner and thinner, and from a distance, the flag would just look like a blurry block of color, losing its distinct and powerful design. Not to mention, making these flags would become increasingly complicated and expensive. The simple, bold symbolism of the original flag was at risk of being diluted by its own success, by the very expansion it was meant to represent. This was a real problem, and Congress knew it. The nation was in a period of great optimism and expansion after the War of 1812, often called the era of good feelings. A sense of national identity was stronger than ever, and having a consistent, recognizable national emblem was crucial. The flag couldn't be in a constant state of flux. They needed a permanent solution. Enter Peter H. Wendover, a congressman from New York. He recognized the impending chaos and took the lead. In 1817, he introduced a bill to address the flag design. He wasn't the first to think of it, but he was the one who pushed it forward with persistence. Wendover sought the advice of a man who had a deep personal connection to the flag, Captain Samuel C. Reed of the U.S. Navy. Captain Reed was a war hero from the War of 1812, known for his valiant defense at the Battle of Fahali in the Azores. He had a profound respect for naval tradition and the importance of a clear and honorable flag. When Wendover asked for his opinion, Reed offered a brilliant and elegant solution. His proposal was simple, yet profound. He suggested that the flag should return to having 13 horizontal stripes, representing the original 13 colonies that fought for independence. This would be a permanent tribute to the foundation of the nation. The stripes would forever honor the origins of the United States. But what about the new states? How would they be represented? Reed's solution for this was equally smart. He proposed that for every new state admitted to the Union, a single star would be added to the blue canton, or the Union, as it's called. This way, the flag would represent both its historical roots and its dynamic growth. The stripes would signify where the nation came from, and the stars would show what it had become. It was a perfect blend of history and progress. This proposal made its way through Congress. There was some debate, of course. Some argued to keep the 15 stripes of the Star-Spangled Banner, which had become famous. Others had different ideas, but ultimately, the logic and symbolism of Captain Reed's design, championed by Congressman Wendover, won the day. On April 4th, 1818, Congress passed the Third and Final Flag Act. It is often just called the Flag Act of 1818, and it's surprisingly brief for such an important piece of legislation. Let's break down exactly what it established. First, it officially stated that the flag of the United States would have 13 horizontal stripes, alternating red and white. This was a return to the original design from 1777, cementing the symbolic importance of the 13 founding colonies. Second, it decreed that the Union, the blue field, would have 20 stars, as there were now 20 states in the Union. But here's the crucial part for the future. The act stipulated that on the admission of every new state into the Union, 1 star would be added to the union of the flag. This new star was to be added on the 4th of July following the admission of the new state. This last detail was genius. It created a standardized and orderly process. Instead of a flag maker in Boston adding a star in May and one in Philadelphia adding it in June, everyone would update their flags on the same day, Independence Day. This ensured uniformity across the entire country and tied the flag's evolution directly to the nation's most important holiday. It created a moment of national celebration each time the country grew. So, on July 4th, 1818, the new 20-star flag was officially raised for the first time over the U.S. Capitol. It featured the 13 stripes we know so well and a union of 20 stars. Now, the act didn't specify the pattern of the stars. In the early days, you'd see stars arranged in rows, in circles, or even in the shape of a larger great star pattern, which was another of Captain Reed's suggestions to symbolize the national motto, E pluribus unum, out of many, one. This lack of a specified pattern allowed for some creative interpretation for many years to come, a topic we'll explore in a future chapter. The 1818 Flag Act was a quiet law. It didn't have the drama of a wartime declaration, but its impact was immense. It solved a practical problem while creating a powerful and lasting symbol. It ensured that the flag would remain a coherent and meaningful design, no matter how large the country grew. Every single American flag that has flown since 1818, from the 21-star flag when Illinois joined, all the way to our current 50-star flag, owes its design to this simple, forward-thinking act of Congress. It created a living document in cloth form. The stripes are the permanent foundation. The historical text that never changes. The stars are the ongoing chapters, with a new one added each time the American story expands. It's a design that is both static and dynamic, honoring the past while embracing the future. And that is the legacy of the Flag Act of 1818. It was not about a specific battle or a single hero. It was about foresight, good design, and the creation of a system that would allow the nation's most important symbol to grow with the nation itself. It ensured that Old Glory would always be recognizable, always be honored, and always tell the story of the United States of America. Thank you so much for joining me for this chapter in our flag's history. It's a testament to how a simple Wealth-Hout rule can shape history in a profound way. If you enjoyed this video and learned something new, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you won't miss our next chapter. We'll be looking at the incredible variety of star patterns and the flags of a nation pushing ever westward. Until next time, take care. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a fascinating period of American history, the explosive growth of the 19th century. We're calling this Chapter 7, The Expanding Union. It was a time of boundless optimism, westward expansion, and a nation literally taking shape before people's eyes. And one of the most visual and powerful symbols of this change was the American flag itself. Think about it. We often see the 50-star flag and think of it as this static, unchanging symbol. But for much of the 1800s, Old Glory was in a constant state of flux. It was a living document, a star-spangled scoreboard of national expansion. Every time a new state joined the Union, a new star had to be added. This wasn't just a minor administrative task. It was a moment of national pride and a design challenge that captivated the country. Let's rewind to the start of the century. The flag, at that point, had 15 stars and 15 stripes, thanks to the addition of Vermont and Kentucky. But that design was about to become obsolete, and fast. The wave of westward expansion was unstoppable. Settlers, pioneers, and dreamers were pushing past the Appalachian Mountains, carving out new lives and new communities in the vast territories beyond. First up was Tennessee in 1796, followed by Ohio in 1803. Suddenly, the 15-star flag wasn't quite telling the whole story. The nation was growing, but the flag wasn't keeping up. For a while, there was no official rule on how to update it. People just sort of improvised. You'd see unofficial flags with more stars, but there was no standardized design. Imagine the confusion. This all changed with the Flag Act of 1818. Congress finally stepped in and said, "Okay, we need a system." They made a brilliant decision. They decided to return the number of stripes to the original 13, to honor the 13 colonies that started it all. This was a nod to the past, a way of saying, let's not forget where we came from. But the stars would represent the present and the future. The act decreed that on the 4th of July, following a new state's admission, a new star would be officially added to the flag's blue canton. And we thought the race was on. The 19th century became a parade of new states and new stars. Louisiana joined in 1812, bringing its rich, unique culture into the American fold. Indiana followed in 1816, then Mississippi in 1817, Illinois in 1818, and Alabama in 1819. Can you imagine the excitement each year? A new star meant new territory, new resources, new people, and a new sense of what it meant to be American. The flag became a visual timeline. The 20-star flag of 1818 lasted only a year before Alabama's admission demanded a 21st star. Then came Maine in 1820 and Missouri in 1822, pushing the count to 24 stars. The arrangement of these stars wasn't standardized yet, so flag makers had a lot of creative freedom. You'd see stars in neat rows, stars in a circle, or even stars arranged to form one giant star. Each flag was a little piece of folk art, reflecting the character of the nation. This expansion wasn't just about adding land. It was about the complex, often difficult process of nation building. The Missouri Compromise of 1820, which brought in Maine as a free state and Missouri as a slave state, showed that every new star carried with it immense political weight and deep-seated conflicts that would eventually boil over. The flag, in its steady addition of stars, represented not just growth, but also the growing pains of a young republic. As the century marched on, the map of the United States was redrawn again and again. Arkansas in 1836, Michigan in 1837. Then came a huge leap with the annexation of Texas in 1845. A whole republic, the Lone Star Republic, became the Lone Star on the American flag. This was a massive statement, and it wasn't without controversy, leading directly to the Mexican-American War. The outcome of that war brought in a vast expanse of new territory, and with it, the great state of California in 1850. The gold rush was on, and California's entry as the 31st state was a pivotal moment. The flag with 31 stars flew over a nation that now stretched from the Atlantic to the Pacific. The dream of manifest destiny, for better or worse, had been realized. And still, the stars kept coming. Minnesota in 1858, Oregon in 1859, Kansas in 1861. The admission of Kansas, bleeding Kansas, was a grim foreshadowing of the Civil War, a stark reminder that each star represented a struggle and a story. During the Civil War itself, something remarkable happened. President Abraham Lincoln refused to remove the stars of the seceding states from the Union flag. He insisted they were still part of the Union, just in a state of rebellion. The flag, with its full complement of stars, became a powerful symbol of preserving the nation, a promise that the Union would be whole again. After the war, Reconstruction and continued expansion went hand in hand. Nevada became a state during the war in 1864. Then Nebraska in 1867. Colorado, the Centennial State, joined in 1876, just in time for the nation's 100th birthday. Imagine the pride of seeing that new 38-star flag unfurled during the centennial celebrations. The latter part of the century saw the closing of the American frontier. The vast open spaces were being settled and organized. In a flurry of activity, North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, and Washington all joined in 1889. The flag jumped from 38 stars to 42 in a single year. It was a logistical challenge for flag makers and a clear sign that the era of Western settlement was reaching its peak. Idaho and Wyoming followed in 1890, making it 44 stars. Then Utah in 1896, bringing the count to 45. By the turn of the century, the 45-star flag flew over a nation that was almost unrecognizable from the one that had started the 1800s. It had weathered immense challenges, grown exponentially, and was now a major world power. The flag itself had changed more than 20 times over the course of 100 years. Each version tells a story of hope, conflict, struggle, and growth. It's a beautiful and dynamic history, and it's written right there in the stars and stripes. The flag wasn't just a piece of cloth. It was a canvas upon which the story of a nation was being painted, one star at a time. It's a powerful reminder that history is not static. It's a constantly evolving story, and we're all a part of it. Thanks so much for watching this journey through the 19th century evolution of the American flag. I hope it gives you a new appreciation for this iconic symbol. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And do you want to forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next chapter. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious. Hello history buffs, and welcome back to our journey through the story of flags. Today, we're rediving into one of the most defining and turbulent chapters in American history, the Civil War. This wasn't just a war of armies. It was a war of ideas, a war of identities, and at the heart of it all were the flags that men fought and died for. These banners weren't just pieces of cloth. They were powerful symbols, telling two very different stories of what America was and what it should be. Let's start with the flag of the Union, the familiar stars and stripes. By 1861, when the war began, the United States flag had 33 stars. As the southern states began to secede, a profound question arose. What should happen to the flag? Should the stars representing the seceding states be removed? This was a major debate. Some argued that removing the stars would be an admission that the Union was permanently broken. President Abraham Lincoln was firm in his belief that the Union was perpetual and unbreakable. Secession, in his view, was illegal. Therefore, the states had not asterisk left. Keeping all the stars on the flag was a powerful statement. It declared that the war was not about conquering a foreign nation, but about preserving a single, indivisible one. Throughout the war, the Union flag continued to evolve, not by removing stars, but by adding them. In 1861, Kansas was admitted to the Union, bringing the star count to 34. Then, in 1863, West Virginia, which had seceded from Virginia to remain with the Union, became the 35th state. This addition was particularly symbolic. A new star, born from the very conflict that threatened to tear the nation apart, was a potent symbol of loyalty and the enduring strength of the federal government. For the soldiers marching under it, this flag represented home, freedom, and the very future of the American experiment. It was a promise that the nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal, would not perish from the earth. The 35-star flag would fly over the final battlefields and be the banner that presided over the end of the conflict. Now, let's turn our attention south, to the flags of the Confederacy. The story here is more complex, with several different designs used throughout the war. The first official national flag of the Confederacy is often a surprise to many people. It wasn't the famous battle flag we often see today. It was called the Stars and Bars. This flag featured a blue canton in the upper left corner with a circle of white stars, one for each Confederate state, eventually numbering 13. The rest of the flag consisted of 3 broad horizontal stripes, red, white, and then red again. Does that design sound a bit familiar? It should. It looked remarkably similar to the Union's stars and stripes. This similarity was intentional. Many Southerners didn't initially see themselves as creating something entirely new. but as preserving the original vision of the Founding Fathers, which they believed the North had corrupted. The flag's resemblance to the U.S. flag was a way of claiming that they were the true heirs of the American Revolution. However, this similarity quickly proved to be a massive problem on the battlefield. In the smoke and chaos of combat, it was dangerously difficult to tell the stars and bars from the stars and stripes. At the First Battle of Bull Run in 1861, this confusion led to friendly fire incidents and near disaster. It became clear that a new, more distinct banner was needed for the Army. This battlefield necessity gave birth to the most recognizable symbol of the Confederacy, the battle flag. This was a square banner with a blue saltire, or diagonal cross, decorated with white stars, all on a red field. This design, created by General P.G.T. Beauregard's staff, was unmistakable from a distance. It was never the official national flag of the Confederacy, but it was the flag of its armies, particularly the Army of Northern Virginia. It was the flag carried into the fury of Antietam, the fields of Gettysburg, and the trenches of Petersburg. For the Confederate soldiers, this flag symbolized their new Southern identity, their defiance, and their camaraderie. It was a banner they followed with fierce devotion, and it became inextricably linked with their cause. The Confederacy did try to change its national flag again to address the confusion. In 1863, they adopted a second national flag, known as the Stainless Banner. This flag took the famous battle flag design and placed it in the upper left canton on a field of pure white. The white field was meant to symbolize the purity and righteousness of the Southern cause. However, this design had its own practical problem. On a windless day, it could easily be mistaken for a flag of truce or surrender. Imagine a limp flag on a pole, with only the white field visible. Not exactly the inspiring symbol of defiance they were hoping for. So, in the final months of the war, in March 1865, the Confederate Congress modified the flag one last time. They adopted the third and final national flag, known as the Blood-Stained Banner. It was essentially the same as the Stainless Banner, but with a broad vertical red bar added to the outer edge. This was done to make it more visible and less like a flag of surrender. Of course, by the time this flag was officially adopted, the Confederacy was on the verge of collapse. Just a few weeks later, General Lee would surrender to General Grant at Appomattox Courthouse, and the war would effectively be over. When the guns fell silent in 1865, one flag was left standing: the Stars and Stripes. The war had cost over 600,000 lives, and it devastated the South. But it had answered the fundamental question. The United States was not a loose confederation of states that could leave at will. It was a single, unified nation. The victory of the Union flag symbolized the preservation of the country and, crucially, the beginning of the end for the institution of slavery. The 13th Amendment, abolishing slavery, was ratified later that year, marking a profound, albeit painful, step toward fulfilling the nation's promise of liberty for all. Today, the flags of the Civil War continue to stir powerful emotions. The U.S. flag, which now proudly bears 50 stars, is a symbol of a nation that has endured, struggled, and evolved. The Confederate battle flag, on the other hand, remains one of the most controversial symbols in American life. For some, it represents Southern heritage and remembrance of ancestors who fought. For many others, it is an undeniable symbol of a government founded to preserve slavery and a painful reminder of racial oppression. Understanding the history of these banners, their origins, their meanings, and the reasons men fought under them is essential to understanding the Civil War and its enduring legacy. A legacy we still grapple with today. One flag, divided by war, destined to reunite and continue its journey of evolution. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Civil War flags. It's a complex and important part of our shared story. If you found this interesting, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next chapter. We'll see you next time. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. We're continuing our incredible journey through American history, stitch by stitch, star by star. Today, we're landing on a truly pivotal moment, a chapter of healing and growth, as we dive into the story of Chapter 9, the 37-star flag of 1867. This isn't just about another star. It's about a nation finding its way forward after one of its darkest periods. Imagine this. The smoke has cleared from the battlefields. The echoes of cannons have faded, but the wounds of the Civil War are still incredibly fresh. It was a time of immense sorrow, but also a time of immense hope. The year 1867 brings with it a powerful symbol of that hope and progress. Nebraska joins the Union, and with Nebraska's addition, our beloved flag gains another star, proudly displaying 37 stars in its field of blue. Now, you might think, just another state, just another star. But this wasn't just another asterisk star. This 37-star flag, which officially became the national emblem on July 4th, 1867, truly embodies the spirit of rebirth and reconciliation. Think about it. The nation had been torn apart, brother fighting brother, state against state. The very fabric of the United States had been stretched to its breaking point. For a new state to join, for the flag to grow asterisk. During such a sensitive period, it was a testament to the enduring belief in the American experiment. It signified a deliberate step towards reunification and a shared future. Nebraska's journey to statehood is fascinating in itself. It wasn't a straightforward path. The territory had been organized back in 1854, a part of the Kansas-Nebraska Act, which, ironically, intensified the very sectional tensions that led to the Civil War. Fast forward to the post-war era, and the push for statehood gained momentum. However, there was a snag. The proposed state constitution included a clause limiting voting rights to white males, which was a major point of contention in Congress, especially in the wake of the Civil War and the ongoing debates about civil rights for formerly enslaved people. President Andrew Johnson actually vetoed the initial Nebraska statehood bill, citing concerns about its constitution and the voting restrictions. But Congress, determined to move forward with Reconstruction and expand the Union, overrode his veto. They passed a bill that mandated Nebraska include a provision in its constitution granting suffrage to all males, regardless of race or color, as a condition for admission. This was a significant moment, reflecting the complex political landscape of the era and the evolving understanding of citizenship and rights. So, on March 1st, 1867, Nebraska officially became the 37th state, and a few months later, on Independence Day, the 37-star flag flew high. This flag didn't just represent Nebraska, it represented the beginning of a new chapter for the entire nation. It was a visual declaration that, despite the deep scars of war, the Union was not only intact, but was continuing to expand. Each new star after the Civil War was a powerful message of unity and forward momentum. It signaled to the world, and to its own citizens, that the United States was committed to healing, to rebuilding, and to living up to its ideals, even if imperfectly at times. The 37-star flag would fly for exactly 10 years, from 1867 to 1877. This decade was a period of immense change and challenge. In American history, the heart of the Reconstruction era. During these 10 years, the nation grappled with defining freedom for formerly enslaved people, reintegrating the southern states, and laying the groundwork for the modern industrial age. It was a time of invention, innovation, and westward expansion, all happening under the watchful gaze of those 37 stars. Think about some of the incredible things happening while this flag was waving. The Transcontinental Railroad was completed in 1869, literally stitching the east and west coasts together. Ulysses S. Grant was elected president. Women's suffrage movements were gaining traction. The first volume of Mark Twain's Adventures of Tom Sawyer was published, and countless immigrant families were arriving, seeking new opportunities, and adding to the vibrant tapestry of American life. The 37-star flag saw it all, a silent witness to a nation striving to live up to its promise. The design of the 37-star flag, like its predecessors, maintained the classic 13 stripes representing the original colonies and a canton of blue with the stars. The arrangement of the stars could vary slightly, depending on the flag manufacturer, but typically they would be arranged in rows or an oval pattern, all symbolizing unity and equality among the states. Each star, from the first 13 to the 37th, tells a story of perseverance, of challenges overcome, and of the enduring spirit of the American people. The symbolism of rebirth and reconciliation for this flag is not an exaggeration. After the war, the idea of American identity had to be redefined. The 37-star flag helped to visually articulate that redefinition. It wasn't about forgetting the past, but about acknowledging it and moving forward together, under one banner. It was a flag that whispered, "We are still one nation, indivisible." This period also saw significant shifts in federal power and the role of the government in protecting civil rights. The 14th and 15th Amendments, granting citizenship to all persons born or naturalized in the U.S. and prohibiting denial of voting rights based on race, were ratified during the era of the 37-star flag. These constitutional changes were revolutionary and represented monumental steps towards a more inclusive vision of America, even if their full promise would take many more decades to realize. So, when we look at the 37-star flag, we're not just seeing a piece of cloth, we're seeing a profound moment in time. A moment when a nation, scarred but resilient, chose to heal, to expand, and to reaffirm its commitment to the ideal of a united future. It represents the courage to mend fences, to build bridges, and to welcome new members into the American family, even in the midst of profound disagreement. This flag serves as a powerful reminder that even after the most difficult times, growth and progress are possible. It tells us that our shared journey, while often challenging, is always evolving, always striving towards a more perfect union. The 37 stars on that blue field were a beacon of hope, not just for the people living in 1867, but for us today. Thank you so much for joining me on this historical adventure today. We're truly covering some incredible ground, chapter by chapter, flag by flag. If you enjoyed learning about the 37-star flag and its powerful message of rebirth and reconciliation, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and share this video with anyone who loves American history. Your support means the world to me and helps us continue exploring these fascinating stories. I'll see you in the next chapter as we unfurl the next star on our flag. Intro music fades out. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're retaking a journey back in time to a truly monumental moment in American history. 1876. 100 years after those brave souls declared independence, the United States was ready to throw a party like no other. We're talking about the centennial, chapter 10 in our exploration of America's story. A moment of immense national pride and a real sense of coming into its own. Imagine this. It's a century since the Declaration of Independence was signed. The country, which started as 13 colonies, has now grown to 38 states. Each star on that flag representing a new chapter, new dreams, and new frontiers. The wounds of the Civil War were still healing. But in 1876, there was an overwhelming feeling of unity, a shared sense of accomplishment that transcended regional differences. This wasn't just another year. It was a year for reflection, celebration, and looking forward with immense optimism. The entire nation was buzzing with excitement. Bunting, flags, and patriotic decorations adorned every town square, every main street, and every home from coast to coast. Parades weren't just local events. They were spectacles of national pride, featuring marching bands, veterans, civic groups, and citizens of all walks of life, all coming together under the banner of a united America. It was a time when you could truly feel the heartbeat of the nation, strong and vibrant. The centerpiece of this grand celebration was, of course, the Centennial Exposition in Philadelphia. Now, this wasn't just any World's Fair. It was a showcase of American ingenuity, progress, and power on the global stage. Held in Fairmount Park, it was massive, attracting nearly 10 million visitors. That's a quarter of the entire U.S. population at the time. People traveled from all corners of the country, and indeed, the world, to witness this incredible display. Imagine walking through those grand halls, seeing wonders like the colossal Corliss steam engine, a true marvel of industrial might, powering all the machinery in Machinery Hall. It symbolized America's rise as an industrial powerhouse. Then there was the Bell telephone, making its public debut. Imagine seeing that for the first time, realizing you could speak across distances. It must have felt like pure magic. This fair wasn't just about showing off. It was about inspiring, about demonstrating what a young nation, driven by innovation and freedom, could achieve. The exposition also highlighted cultural achievements. Art galleries showcased American landscape painters and sculptors, asserting a distinct American artistic identity. Literature, music, and scientific advancements were all proudly displayed, painting a picture of a nation that was not just strong economically, but rich in culture and intellect. It was a statement to the world. America was here, and it was here to stay, not just as a political entity, but as a cultural force. But beyond the grand exhibitions and the dazzling parades, the centennial was really about the people. It was about ordinary Americans coming together, sharing stories, and forging a collective identity. It was a moment where everyone, from farmers in the Midwest to factory workers in the Northeast, from miners in the West to fishermen in the South, felt a part of something bigger than themselves. The 38-star flag wasn't just a piece of cloth. It was a symbol of their shared history, their struggles, and their triumphs. The spirit of unity was palpable. After the divisive years leading up to and during the Civil War, the centennial offered a much-needed opportunity for reconciliation and shared purpose. It allowed people to remember what bound them together, the ideals of liberty, democracy, and the pursuit of a better future. It was a moment of healing, a reaffirmation of the American experiment, proving that a government of the people, beat to people for the people, could indeed endure. Historical figures played a significant role in setting the tone. President Ulysses S. Grant attended the opening of the Centennial Exposition, shaking hands with Emperor Dom Pedro II of Brazil, symbolizing America's growing international presence and its diplomatic standing. Orators and poets penned tributes to the nation's past and future. Even women, who were still decades away from securing the right to vote, had a presence at the exposition, showcasing their contributions to society and advocating for their rights, demonstrating the ongoing evolution of American ideals. The centennial of 1876 wasn't just a historical footnote. It was a pivotal moment. It solidified America's place on the global stage, showcasing its industrial might, its innovative spirit, and its democratic ideals. It gave Americans a chance to reflect on the immense journey they had undertaken in just 100 years, from a fledgling group of colonies to a burgeoning continental power. It was a moment of profound national introspection and outward display of confidence. This period taught us the importance of collective memory and national celebration. It showed how shared history, even with its complexities and challenges, can unite a people and inspire them to strive for even greater achievements. The pride felt in 1876 resonated through generations, reminding future Americans of the strength that lies in unity and the power of a shared vision. It's a powerful lesson that still holds true today. So, as we wrap up our look at Centennial Pride, remember that 1876 wasn't just about fireworks and parades. It was about an entire nation taking a deep breath, looking around at how far they'd come, and feeling an undeniable surge of pride for what they had built together. It was a testament to resilience, innovation, and the enduring spirit of America. What do you think about this incredible chapter in American history? Were you surprised by any of the achievements showcased at the Centennial Exposition? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey through time, please give this video a thumbs up, share it with a friend, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our next historical adventure. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a fascinating and often overlooked chapter of American history. We all know the iconic stars and stripes, but have you ever heard of the forgotten flags? These aren't mythical banners from a secret society. They were official United States flags that flew for such a short time. They've almost been erased from our collective memory. We're talking about a whirlwind, 7-year period, from 1889 to 1896, where the American flag changed so rapidly it was hard to keep up. It was a time of unprecedented growth, a frantic rush westward that added state after state to the Union in quick succession. Each new state meant a new star and a new flag. But these flags, the ones with 43, 44, and 45 stars, were like fleeting moments, whispers of history that barely lasted a year before being replaced. So, buckle up as we unfold the story of these transient symbols and the explosive era of expansion they represented. Let's set the stage. The year is 1889. The United States has had 38 stars on its flag for over 2 decades, since Nebraska joined the Union back in 1867. This 38-star flag was a familiar sight, a symbol of a nation that had healed from the Civil War and was looking towards a new horizon. But that horizon was about to get a lot closer. Very, very quickly. The West was calling, and territories that had been sparsely populated for years were suddenly booming. Railroads were crisscrossing the continent, settlers were pouring in, and the political landscape was on the verge of a seismic shift. In Washington, D.C., the pressure was mounting to grant statehood to several of these burgeoning territories. The Enabling Act of 1889 was the legislative key that unlocked the door. This single act of Congress paved the way for North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, and Washington to join the Union. But here's where it gets interesting and a little bit chaotic for our flag. On November 2nd, 1889, President Benjamin Harrison signed the proclamations admitting North and South Dakota. Legend has it that he shuffled the papers before signing so that no one would know which Dakota officially became a state first. Just a few days later, on November 8th, Montana joined the club, and 3 days after that, on November 11th, Washington followed suit. Suddenly, the nation had jumped from 38 states to 42. So, what did the flag look like? According to the Flag Act of 1818, new stars were only to be officially added to the flag on the 4th of July following a state-s admission. This meant that, despite having 42 states by mid-November 1889, the official flag would not change until July 4th, 1890. This created a strange limbo. Flag makers, ever the entrepreneurs, were in a frenzy. Some likely produced unofficial 39, 40, 41, and 42-star flags to sell to eager patriots. Imagine the confusion. You buy a brand new flag, and a week later, it's already out of date. These unofficial flags are incredibly rare today, true collector's items that capture the chaotic spirit of the moment. But the real story begins as the country approached that fateful Independence Day in 1890. With 4 new states in the bag, everyone expected a 42-star flag. Preparations were made, designs were drawn up, and manufacturers were ready to roll them out. And then, just one day before the official update, on July 3rd, 1890, Idaho was admitted as the 43rd state. Talk about a last-minute change. All those plans for a 42-star flag, scrapped. The nation woke up on July 4th, 1890, to a brand new, official 43-star flag. This flag, with its slightly unusual number of stars, became the new symbol of the nation. It represented a country that was bursting at the seams, a testament to the manifest destiny that had driven settlement westward. The arrangement of the stars on these flags wasn't standardized yet, so you'll see various beautiful patterns. Some had the stars in neat rows, while others used a staggered or medallion design, with a large, central star surrounded by others. Each one was a small work of art. But if you think the story ends here, you're mistaken. The 43-star flags, time in the sun was destined to be incredibly short. The westward expansion was far from over. Just 7 days after the 43-star flag became official, another star was added to the constellation. On July 10, 1890, Wyoming was welcomed into the Union as the 44th state. Can you imagine? The flag makers, they had just retooled their entire production for the 43-star version, and now, a week later, they had to prepare for another change. However, due to the Flag Act, the 44-star flag wouldn't become official until the next 4th of July. So, for an entire year, from July 4th, 1890, to July 3rd, 1891, the official flag of the United States had 43 stars, even though the country actually had 44 states. It's a perfect example of how law and reality can sometimes be out of sync. This period must have been a unique time for civic identity. Your nation had a certain number of states, but the flag flying over your post office or schoolhouse told a slightly different story. When July 4th, 1891, finally arrived, the 44-star flag was officially unfurled. It flew proudly, representing a nation that now stretched solidly from the Atlantic to the Pacific. This flag had a slightly longer life than its predecessor. It would fly for 5 whole years, a period of relative stability in this era of rapid-fire statehood. The 44-star flag presided over a transformative period. It saw the opening of Ellis Island in 1892, which would become the gateway for millions of immigrants seeking a new life in America. It flew during the World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago in 1893, a massive fair that showcased American innovation and culture to the world. It was the flag that represented America during the Panic of 1893, a severe economic depression that tested the nation's resilience. For 5 years, the 44-star flag was the constant, the backdrop to triumphs and tribulations. People grew accustomed to it. It seemed, for a moment, that the map of the United States had finally settled. But out in the Great Basin, another territory was on the long and difficult path to statehood. Utah. Utah's journey was complicated, largely due to the practice of polygamy by the majority Mormon population, which was a major point of contention with the federal government. After the church officially renounced the practice, the path was cleared. On January 4th, 1896, Utah was admitted as the 45th state. And so, the cycle began again. The 44-star flag was now obsolete. The nation had to wait for the upcoming 4th of July for the flag to catch up with the country's new reality. On July 4th, 1896, the 45-star flag was officially adopted. This new banner symbolized a nation that was more diverse and geographically vast than ever before. Like the flags before it, there was no single official arrangement for the stars. Flag makers often used a pattern of staggered, horizontal rows, a design that was both practical and aesthetically pleasing. The 45-star flag would go on to have a much longer tenure than the 43 or 44-star versions. It would fly for 12 years, a respectable run that saw the United States enter the world stage in a new way. It flew over the battles of the Spanish-American War in 1898, marking America's emergence as a global power. It was the flag that President Theodore Roosevelt served under, a symbol of the progressive era's energy and reform. This flag saw the dawn of a new century, the first flight of the Wright brothers, and the rise of the automobile. It became a familiar sight, a symbol of a modernizing America. But eventually, its time would come to an end with the admission of Oklahoma in 1907. So, why do we call these the forgotten flags? It's because their time was so brief. The 43-star flag was official for only 1 year, the 44-star flag for 5, and the 45-star for 12. Compared to the 48-star flag, which flew for 47 years, or our current 50-star flag, which has been with us for over 60 years, they were just blips on the historical radar. Very few of these flags survive today, especially the 43-star version. They were made used for a year, and then when the new version came out, they were either updated by sewing on another star, repurposed into other items, or simply discarded. They weren't seen as historical artifacts at the time. They were just last year's motto. Finding an authentic 43-star flag from 1890 is the antique equivalent of finding a needle in a haystack. These forgotten flags are more than just old pieces of cloth. They are tangible artifacts of one of the most dynamic periods in American history. They tell a story of relentless expansion, of political maneuvering, and of a nation growing and changing at a dizzying pace. They remind us that history isn't always a slow, steady march. Sometimes it's a sprint. Next time you see an American flag, take a closer look at the field of blue and the constellation of stars. Remember that its design wasn't always so fixed. There were times when the stars changed so quickly, the flag itself struggled to keep up. The forgotten flags of 1889 to 1896 are a beautiful, fleeting chapter in that story. A testament to a nation in constant motion. They are the whispers of history, hiding in plain sight. What an incredible piece of vexillology, right? It really makes you appreciate the story woven into the fabric of the flag. Thanks so much for joining me on this historical deep dive. If you enjoyed learning about these forgotten flags, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more stories like this. Drop a comment below if you've ever seen one of these rare flags in a museum. Until next time, stay curious. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're rediving deep into a truly iconic piece of American history. A symbol that flew proudly through some of the nation's most defining moments. Get ready to explore the incredible journey of the 48-star flag, America's longest-lived symbol from 1912 to 1959. Imagine a time when America was rapidly expanding, its spirit brimming with ambition. It was the year 1912. And with the admission of Arizona, the 48th state, a new flag was born. This wasn't just another star added. It represented a nation unified from the Atlantic to the Pacific, reaching almost to Alaska's doorstep. This flag wasn't just a piece of fabric. It was a canvas onto which the story of nearly half a century of American identity would be painted. For the next 47 years, this design stood as a constant. Think about that. Almost 5 decades, it witnessed monumental changes, incredible challenges, and undeniable triumphs. This wasn't just a static symbol. It was a living testament to the resilience and evolution of a nation. Let's rewind to its birth. In 1912, President William Howard Taft issued an executive order standardizing the proportions and arrangement of the stars on the flag. This wasn't just for uniformity. It cemented the flag's design, ensuring every star had its rightful place, representing a unified whole. Imagine the pride as this new flag was hoisted for the first time, signaling a new era of American strength and expansion. From its very inception, the 48-star flag immediately plunged into a world on the brink of change. Just a few years later, the Great War, what we now know as World War I, erupted. American soldiers carried this very flag into battlefields across Europe, fighting for freedom and democracy. It became a beacon of hope and resolve, symbolizing the ideals that America stood for on the global stage. It wasn't just a national emblem, it was a rallying cry for liberty. Then came the Roaring '20s, a decade of unprecedented economic growth, cultural innovation, and social change. From jazz clubs to flapper dresses, the 48-star flag flew over a nation, experiencing a boom like no other. It was a time of invention, optimism, and a burgeoning American dream. Imagine the excitement, the energy, the feeling that anything was possible, all under the watchful gaze of this enduring symbol. But prosperity is often followed by challenges. The Great Depression hit like a tidal wave in the 1930s, bringing immense hardship and uncertainty. Yet, through breadlines and Hoovervilles, the 48-star flag remained a symbol of endurance. It represented the collective spirit of Americans working together, supporting each other, and holding on to the hope of a better tomorrow. It saw communities rally, families persevere, and the nation begin the long, arduous climb back to stability. It reminded everyone that even in the darkest times, the American spirit burned bright. And then, the world was plunged into conflict once more. World War II broke out, and again, the 48-star flag was at the forefront. It flew over factories churning out war materials, over training camps preparing soldiers, and most profoundly, over the battlefields and ships where Americans fought valiantly against tyranny. From Pearl Harbor to Normandy, from Iwo Jima to the liberation of concentration camps, this flag was there, embodying the immense sacrifice and unwavering courage of a generation. It was a symbol of unity, purpose, and the ultimate victory of freedom. The post-war era brought new challenges and triumphs. The 48-star flag presided over the Korean War, a testament to America's commitment to defending freedom globally. It also oversaw the incredible economic boom of the 1950s, the rise of suburbia, the dawn of the Cold War, and the space race, a period of scientific and technological advancement that captivated the world. It was a time of rebuilding, of new beginnings, and of establishing America's role as a global superpower, all under the familiar stars and stripes. Think about the sheer number of iconic moments and historical events this flag witnessed. It saw the rise of Hollywood, the development of commercial aviation, the birth of rock and roll, and the dawn of the civil rights movement. It was a silent observer, yet a powerful participant in the shaping of modern America. Every star, every stripe, was imbued with the stories of millions of Americans, their dreams, their struggles, and their triumphs. What makes the 48-star flag so special is its longevity. For almost 5 decades, it was asterisk, the asterisk flag. It was the backdrop to our grandparents' and great-grandparents' lives, a constant through incredible change. It unified generations and symbolized a consistent national identity, even as the nation itself evolved dramatically. It wasn't just a flag, it was a collective memory, a shared experience etched into the fabric of time. Its long reign finally came to an end in 1959, with the admission of Alaska and then Hawaii, leading to the 49 and eventually 50-star flags. But the legacy of the 48-star flag lives on. It reminds us of a period of immense growth, profound sacrifice, and unwavering determination. It stands as a testament to the enduring spirit of America, a symbol of unity through adversity, and a beacon of hope for a brighter future. So, the next time you see a historical image or watch a film set in this era, take a moment to appreciate the 48-star flag. It's more than just an old design. It's a window into a pivotal chapter of our history. It truly was the longest-lived symbol, defining a nation for nearly half a century. What are your thoughts on this incredible piece of history? Did you know the 48-star flag lasted so long? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey through time, please give this video a big thumbs up, share it with your friends, and make sure to subscribe to the channel for more fascinating insights into history and culture. Your support helps us bring more stories like this to life. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a fascinating moment in American history. A chapter that literally added a new dimension to our national identity. We're talking about 1959, a year of incredible change, and specifically, Chapter 13. Alaska joins, and the iconic 49-star flag. Get ready to explore the wild, vast, and utterly unique journey of how Alaska became the 49th state. You know, when we look at the American flag, we often see 50 stars and think that's how it's always been. But history is a constantly evolving story, much like the nation itself. Back in 1959, the United States flag was about to undergo one of its most significant transformations. Not once, but twice, in a very short period. Before 1959, we had 48 states and a flag design that had been stable for decades. But then, a massive, untamed wilderness to the north was ready to join the Union, forever changing the map and the symbolism of American ambition. Imagine this. It's the late 1950s. The world is changing rapidly. The Cold War is in full swing. Rock and roll is shaking things up, and America is looking towards the future. And way up north, a land of glaciers, caribou, and incredible natural beauty, was calling out for statehood. Alaska, often called Seward Swally, when it was purchased from Russia in 1867 for a mere $7.2 million, that's about 2 cents an acre, had long been a territory. For decades, Alaskans had been pushing for greater self-governance and representation. They argued that being a territory meant they lacked full voting rights in federal elections. They had no voice in Congress, and their economic development was hampered by federal oversight. This was a critical issue of democracy and self-determination for the people living in this vast, resource-rich land. The journey to statehood for Alaska was not an easy one. It was a long, arduous fight against political inertia, geographical challenges, and even some strategic concerns. Think about it. Alaska was, and still is, enormous. It's more than twice the size of Texas. Its remote location, separated from the continental United States by Canada, raised questions about its defense, its integration into the national economy, and even the practicalities of governance. Would it be too expensive to administer? Could it truly be integrated into the American fabric? These were real debates happening in Washington, D.C. for many years. But Alaskans were persistent. They formed conventions, drafted constitutions, even before they were officially allowed to, and sent delegates to Washington to plead their case. They highlighted Alaska's strategic importance, especially during the Cold War. Being so close to the Soviet Union made Alaska a critical frontier for national defense. They also emphasized its vast natural resources, from oil and gas to timber and fishing, which promised significant economic contributions to the nation. The argument was compelling. Alaska was not just a frozen wasteland. It was a land of opportunity and strategic necessity. Finally, after years of advocacy, debates, and legislative maneuvering, the stars aligned. On January 3, 1959, President Dwight D. Eisenhower officially signed the proclamation admitting Alaska as the 49th state of the United States of America. Can you imagine the celebrations across Alaska? The joy, the relief, the pride. It was a moment of triumph for generations of Alaskans who had dreamt of full equality within the Union. It meant they would finally have full representation in Congress, the ability to elect their own governor with full executive powers, and control over their own destiny. With Alaska's admission, a new flag was immediately needed. The 48-star flag, which had been in use since 1912, suddenly became obsolete. The design challenge was to incorporate a 49th star while maintaining the aesthetic, balance, and historical significance of the flag. This wasn't just a simple addition. It required a thoughtful rearrangement of the star field. Historically, new flag designs were often proposed by citizens, and the best designs were considered. For the 49-star flag, the official design featured 7 rows of 7 stars each. It was a perfectly symmetrical and elegant solution for the moment. So, on July 4th, 1959, the 49-star flag was officially unfurled across the nation. Imagine the excitement and the buzz. School children learned the new flag's design. Psychologists, people who study flags, admired the new arrangement, and Americans everywhere celebrated this expansion of their nation. This flag was a powerful symbol of growth, of democracy reaching further north, and of the country's ever-evolving identity. It represented the last frontier, finally joining the American family. But here's the twist, and it's a big one. The 49-star flag, as iconic as it was for that brief period, was not destined to last long. It holds the distinction of being one of the shortest-lived official U.S. flags in history. And why was that? Well, because another major historical event was already on the horizon, just a few months away, even as the 49-star flag was being raised. Plans were already well underway for another territory to join the Union. This brings us to a fascinating point about America's growth. It's often a continuous, dynamic process, rather than a series of isolated events. The fabric of America truly continued to expand at an astonishing pace in the late 1950s. The story of Alaska joining the Union is more than just a historical footnote about a flag design. It's a powerful narrative about perseverance, the democratic process, and the bold spirit of exploration and self-determination that defines America. Alaska's immense size, its unique culture, its strategic importance, and its incredible natural beauty added an entirely new dimension to the United States. From its vast oil reserves to its crucial role in global climate discussions, Alaska continues to play an outsized role in the nation's future. It reminds us that our country is not just a collection of states, but a living, breathing entity that grows and changes, always reaching for new horizons. The 49-star flag served as a beautiful, albeit temporary, emblem of this expansion. It was a bridge between the 48-state union and the full 50-state union we know today. It stands as a testament to a pivotal year, a time when America was literally redrawing its boundaries and embracing its incredible diversity of landscapes and peoples. It highlights that our symbols, like our nation, are not static, but evolved to reflect our journey and our story. So, the next time you see a flag, or perhaps even a historical image of the 49-star flag, take a moment to reflect on the incredible journey that brought Alaska into the fold. It's a story of resilience, vision, and the continuous unfolding of the American dream. And it reminds us that our nation's story is always being written, always expanding, and always full of new possibilities. Thank you so much for joining me on this historical adventure today. If you enjoyed learning about Alaska's journey to statehood and the iconic 49-star flag, please give this video a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more fascinating dives into American history, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next chapter. We appreciate your support and can't wait to see you in the next one. Welcome back to our journey through the history of the American flag. This is it, folks. The grand finale. Chapter 14. The Modern 50-Star Flag. We've finally arrived at the banner we all know and love today, the one that has flown proudly for over 6 decades. The story of our modern flag begins in the late 1950s. The post-war era was a time of immense change and growth for the United States. The nation was expanding, not just economically and culturally, but physically. On January 3rd, 1959, a vast frozen territory in the far north officially became the 49th state, Alaska. This was a huge moment, and it meant the 48-star flag, which had served for 47 years, was suddenly out of date. The country needed a new flag, and it needed one fast. The government knew this was coming, of course. President Dwight D. Eisenhower had anticipated the statehood of both Alaska and Hawaii, and had already established the Armed Forces Flag Committee to handle the redesign. This was a big deal. The flag is the most sacred symbol of the nation, and changing it required careful thought and public involvement. So, the call went out across America. Design the new flag. And America answered. Thousands upon thousands of suggestions poured into the White House. People from every walk of life, school children, professional artists, veterans, homemakers sent in their ideas. The designs ranged from the brilliant to the, well, let's just say creative. Some were incredibly complex, others radically different, but most tried to find a new, elegant way to arrange 49 stars. The government sifted through over 3,000 unsolicited designs. It was a monumental task. They were looking for something that was both practical and respectful of tradition. For a brief period, the 49-star flag was official. It featured 7 rows of 7 stars, a neat, square-like grid. It was adopted on July 4th, 1959. But everyone knew its time would be short, because another star was on its way. Just a few months later, on August 21st, 1959, the tropical paradise of Hawaii was admitted as the 50th state. The nation rejoiced. But it also meant the brand new 49-star flag was already obsolete. It holds the record for being one of the shortest-lived official American flags, serving for just 1 year. Now, the real challenge began. How do you arrange 50 stars in a way that looks balanced, dignified, and aesthetically pleasing? It's harder than it sounds. Arranging an even number like 50 in a neat rectangle is tricky. You can't just make a simple grid like you could with 49. Once again, the American public got to work. The number of submissions was staggering, and amidst this sea of ideas, one design began to stand out. It came from a high school student in Lancaster, Ohio. His name was Robert G. Heft. The story of Bob Heft is the stuff of American legend. As a 17-year-old junior in 1958, he was given a class assignment to create a project on American history. With Alaska and Hawaii's statehood being debated, Heft decided to look to the future. He took his family's 48-star flag, carefully cut out 50 white stars from fabric, and meticulously arranged and sewed them onto the blue canton. His design featured 5 rows of 6 stars, alternating with 4 rows of 5 stars. It was a simple, elegant, and beautifully symmetrical solution. He turned in his project a real, hand-sewn flag. And what grade did he get? His teacher, Stanley Pratt, felt the design lacked originality and commented that the actual flag probably wouldn't look like that. Heft, confident in his work, challenged the grade. He made a deal with his teacher. If his design was accepted by Congress, his grade would be changed to an ASO. Bob Heft sent his flag to his congressman, Walter Moyer. It was one of over 1,500 designs submitted for the 50-star version. His design, along with many others, made its way to the selection committee in Washington, D.C. They were looking for that perfect balance of tradition and modern design. Heft's staggered row pattern was not only visually appealing, but also practical for manufacturing. After months of deliberation, President Eisenhower himself made the final selection. Out of all the thousands of submissions, the design chosen was the one created by a 17-year-old high school student for a history project, the very same design as Robert Heft's. On July 4th, 1960, the new 50-star flag was officially raised for the first time over Fort McHenry in Baltimore, the very place that inspired the Star-Spangled Banner nearly 150 years earlier. It was a powerful, symbolic moment, connecting the nation's past with its present. And yes, you guessed it, Bob Heft's teacher kept his promise and changed his grade to an A. Bob Heft's story is a beautiful reminder that in America, anyone can contribute to the nation's story, no matter their age or background. He went on to visit the White House multiple times and became a beloved keeper of the flag as history until his passing. The 50-star flag that Robert Heft designed is the one we see today. It has now been the official flag of the United States for over 60 years, making it the longest-serving version in American history. It has flown over battlefields, on the moon, at Olympic Games, and in front of schools and homes across the country. It has witnessed incredible triumphs and profound tragedies. It has been a symbol of hope, a focal point for protest, and a constant reminder of the ideals the nation strives to uphold: liberty, justice, and unity. Its design is a masterpiece of simplicity and symbolism. The 13 stripes represent the original 13 colonies that declared independence. The 50 stars represent the 50 states, united as one nation. The colors remain the same. Red for valor and bravery, white for purity and innocence, and blue for vigilance, perseverance, and justice. From the first Grand Union flag to the iconic 50-star banner of today, the American flag has told the story of the nation itself, a story of growth, change, struggle, and the enduring pursuit of a more perfect union. Each star added represents a new chapter, a new piece of the American puzzle. And today, the flag stands complete, a symmetrical and balanced emblem recognized around the globe. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey through the history of the American flag. It's been an honor to share these stories with you. If you've enjoyed this series, please give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment with your thoughts, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what's coming next. We have many more stories to tell. Thanks for watching. For countless nations, these aren't just colors. They're the fabric of their identity, woven with stories of courage, hope, and unwavering principles. We're going to uncover the fascinating origins and enduring significance of these powerful hues. Let's start with red. Red. It's a color that grabs your attention, isn't it? It's intense, it's vibrant, and historically, it has been linked to powerful emotions and actions. In many contexts, red stands for valor, for bravery, for the willingness to stand up and fight for what's right. It speaks of the sacrifices made, the battles fought, and the unwavering spirit of those who faced adversity head. Imagine the heat of a forge, the fiery passion of a cause, or the courageous heart of a hero, all captured in that singular, striking color. It's not just about aggression. It's about the burning desire for justice, the fierce protection of loved ones, and the undying flame of hope that fuels determination. This isn't just a physical valor, but a moral one, a courage to uphold truth and justice even when it's difficult. It's the color of a heartbeat, strong and unwavering, symbolizing the lifeblood of a nation's spirit. Next up, we have white. What comes to mind when you think of white? Purity, right? Serenity, new beginnings, truth. White is often chosen to represent a sense of innocence, clarity, and unsullied ideals. It's the color of a clean slate, a fresh start, and a moral compass pointing true north. In the context of national symbols, white often embodies the purity of purpose, the high moral ground, and the unblemished ideals upon which a society or movement is founded. It's about integrity, transparency, and the aspiration for a just and fair existence. Think of a blank canvas, full of potential, or the gleaming light of truth, cutting through darkness. White signifies a belief in inherent goodness, in principles untainted by corruption or deceit. It's the aspiration for peace, for harmony, and for a world built on honest foundations. It's the gentle glow of hope, illuminating the path forward with unwavering clarity. And finally, blue. Oh, blue. The color of the sky, the ocean, vast, deep, and often associated with stability, loyalty, and justice. Blue, especially in the context we're discussing, symbolizes justice and truth. It represents fairness, equality, and the unwavering commitment to upholding laws and principles that protect everyone. Imagine the deep, steadfast nature of the ocean or the boundless expanse of the sky. These convey a sense of constancy and reliability. Blue stands for vigilance, for the watchful eye of justice, and the calm, rational deliberation required to ensure fairness for all. It speaks of the loyalty of a people to their ideals, and the enduring strength of a system built on ethical foundations. It's the color of wisdom, of careful thought, and of the profound responsibility to ensure that rights are protected and wrongs are righted. Blue is a promise, a commitment to a just society where everyone has a voice and where fairness prevails. It's the steadfast assurance that principles will guide actions. So, when you see red, white, and blue together, they're not just a random combination of pretty colors. They are a powerful, visual narrative. They tell a story of valorous struggles. Red, undertaken with pure intentions. White, to establish and uphold justice. Blue, TSC colors meticulously chosen, become shorthand for complex histories, profound sacrifices, and enduring aspirations. They are flags waved with pride, symbols etched into monuments, and ideals ingrained in the hearts of citizens. It's truly incredible how these simple hues can evoke such deep emotion and meaning, transforming from mere pigments into profound emblems of national identity and universal values. They remind us of the incredible human capacity for courage, integrity, and the pursuit of a better world. The next time you see these colors, I hope you will pause for a moment and reflect on the powerful stories they tell and the immense significance they carry for millions around the globe. What other colors do you think hold deep symbolic meaning, and what do they represent to you? Let us know in the comments below. We love hearing your thoughts. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the meaning behind colors, please give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more fascinating insights. Your support helps us keep exploring these incredible topics. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next chapter. Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we re-diving into a topic that is woven into the very fabric of American life, the U.S. flag code. Have you ever seen a flag ceremony and wondered about the specific folds? Or maybe you've questioned the right way to hang a flag at your own home? Well, you're in the right place. We are going to explore the quiet dignity and deep respect codified in the rules for handling the stars and stripes. It's more than just a piece of cloth. It's a living symbol of the nation, and the flag code provides a guide to honoring it properly. So, what exactly is the U.S. flag code? Officially, it's Title IV of the United States Code. It's a set of guidelines, a sort of national etiquette for the flag, first adopted in 1942. It's important to note that it's a guide, not a law with penalties for civilians. It's about respect, not regulation. The code's purpose is to ensure that this powerful symbol is treated with the honor it deserves, reflecting the principles of justice, liberty, and humanity it represents. It's a formalization of the respect that so many people feel instinctively. Let's start with one of the most common ways we see the flag on display. The basic rule is simple. When displayed, the Union, that's the blue field with the stars, should always be in the uppermost, honored position. So, if you're hanging it vertically on a wall, the Union should be on the observer's left. If it's hanging over a street, it should be suspended vertically with the Union to the north on an east-west street, or to the east on a north-south street. Think of it as the flag always having the position of prominence. And what about timing? Traditionally, the flag should be displayed from sunrise to sunset. However, if you have a proper light source illuminating it, you can fly the flag 24 hours a day. The code also advises against flying the flag during inclement weather, unless it's an all-weather flag. It's a practical consideration. Really protecting the flag from damage is a key part of showing respect. It's about preserving its integrity for as long as possible. Now, let's talk about raising and lowering the flag. Have you ever noticed the speed? The flag should be hoisted briskly, with a sense of energy and purpose. But when it's lowered, it should be done slowly and ceremoniously. This contrast is intentional. The quick raising symbolizes the nation's energetic rise, while the slow, deliberate lowering signifies a somber respect and a reluctance to see it come down. It's a small piece of theater that carries a great deal of meaning. The flag should never, ever touch anything beneath it. That means the ground, the floor, water, or any merchandise. This rule emphasizes the idea that the flag stands above all else. It shouldn't be sullied by contact with the mundane. If you've seen military color guards, you'll notice how meticulously they handle the flag to prevent it from ever touching the ground. It's a foundational principle of flag etiquette. The flag code also gets specific about how the flag should be used. For instance, it should never be used as apparel, bedding, or drapery. It shouldn't be festooned, drawn back, or bunched up. It should always be allowed to fall free. Think of it this way. The flag is a symbol in its own right. It's not a decoration. Using it as a simple pattern on a napkin or a t-shirt is seen as diminishing its unique status. This is why you'll see patriotic bunting with red, white, and blue stripes, but not the actual flag design used as simple decoration. Another key point is that the flag should never be used for advertising purposes. You shouldn't embroider it on cushions or handkerchiefs, or print it on paper napkins or boxers. The idea is to keep the flag separate from commercialism. It stands for the nation, not for a product or a brand. This preserves its dignity and prevents it from being It maintains that separation between the sacred symbol and the commercial world. What happens when a flag is no longer in a fitting condition for display? A tattered, faded, or torn flag shouldn't just be thrown away. The flag code specifies that the flag, when it is in such condition that it is no longer a fitting emblem for display, should be destroyed in a dignified way, preferably by burning. This might sound surprising, but burning has long been a traditional and respectful way to dispose of sacred or revered objects. It's a final act of honor. Many organizations, like the American Legion or the Boy Scouts, hold formal flag retirement ceremonies where old flags are burned with the solemnity they deserve. Now for one of the most iconic parts of flag etiquette. The folding ceremony. That tight, triangular shape is no accident. Each of the 13 folds has a symbolic meaning, often linked to the nation's religious and civic principles. While the meanings aren't officially part of the flag code, they have become a cherished tradition, especially within the military. For instance, the first fold is a symbol of life, the second a symbol of belief in eternal life, and so on, with each fold representing a core value or tribute. When the flag is completely folded, only the blue field with the stars is visible, resembling a tricorn hat like those worn by the soldiers of the Continental Army. It is a reminder of the nation's founding principles and the sacrifices made by those who fought for its freedom. This carefully choreographed procedure turns the simple act of folding a flag into a powerful and moving tribute. It's a tangible connection to the history and the people the flag represents. Let's touch on a few more specific situations. What about flying the flag at half? This is a sign of mourning. The flag is first hoisted to the peak for an instant, and then slowly lowered to the half-staff position. It's lowered in the same way run to the peak, and then lowered for the day. This is done on days like Memorial Day or by presidential or gubernatorial order to honor the passing of a significant figure or to mark a national tragedy. It's a visible, collective expression of the nation's grief. And how should we, as individuals, act when the flag is passing by in a parade or during a ceremony? The code is clear. We should face the flag, stand at attention, and place our right hand over our heart. Those in uniform render a military salute. Men not in uniform should remove their hats with their right hand and hold them at the left shoulder, with a hand over the heart. It's a moment of collective respect, a silent acknowledgement of what the flag stands for. In a world that's constantly changing, the U.S. flag code provides a sense of constancy and tradition. It's a set of gestures, big and small, that connect us to the past and to each other. It's not about blind nationalism. It's about a shared respect for the ideals liberty, equality, and resilience that the flag symbolizes. By understanding and practicing this etiquette, we participate in a tradition that honors the history and the future of the nation. It's a quiet, dignified way of saying, this means something. So the next time you see the stars and stripes, whether it's flying high above a government building, being carefully folded by a veteran, or hanging from a neighbor's porch, you'll have a deeper appreciation for the traditions that surround it. These aren't just arbitrary rules. They are the language of respect. Thank you so much for joining me today to explore the U.S. flag code. I hope you found it as fascinating as I do. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you won't miss our next chapter. We'll see you in the next video. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're embarking on an incredible journey. A story that takes us from battlefields to the boundless cosmos. We're diving into chapter 17. The flag in space and beyond, exploring how the stars and stripes, a simple piece of fabric, transformed into a symbol that traveled farther than any national emblem before it. It's truly a cosmic tale. You know, the American flag has always been more than just cloth and colors. It's a living symbol, representing ideals, struggles, and triumphs. Think about iconic moments in history, like the Marines raising the flag on Iwo Jima during World War II. That image, captured forever, wasn't just about winning a battle. It was about resilience, courage, and a collective spirit. It showed the world what people, united under that banner, could achieve in the face of overwhelming odds. That moment cemented the flag's place, not just in American history, but in the global consciousness as a powerful symbol of determination. But what happens when that symbol, so deeply rooted in earthly struggles, reaches for the stars? That's where our story gets truly extraordinary. The journey of the American flag didn't stop on mountaintops or battlefields. It was just getting started. It was destined for a much, much grander stage, the vast expanse of space. For centuries, humanity had gazed at the moon, dreaming of reaching it. That dream became a reality on July 20th, 1969, when Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin stepped onto the lunar surface. They carried not just the hopes of a nation, but a symbol. The planting of the American flag on the moon wasn't just a scientific achievement. It was a profound cultural moment. It signified humanity's ability to transcend earthly limitations and explore new frontiers. Imagine that, a piece of fabric unfurled on an alien world, reflecting the light of a distant sun. This wasn't just about one nation claiming a new territory. It was about celebrating human ingenuity, courage, and the spirit of exploration. The flag there was a testament to what we can achieve when we unite under a common goal, pushing the boundaries of what's possible. It was a beacon, shining bright from our nearest celestial neighbor, inspiring generations to look up and dream big. But the moon wasn't the final destination. The Stars and Stripes continued its voyage, venturing even further into the solar system. It flew on unmanned probes, tucked away on spacecraft, like the Voyager missions, destined to carry a message of humanity across interstellar space. These flags, tiny, silent ambassadors, traveled billions of miles, moving beyond the gravitational pull of our sun, carrying a piece of Earth's identity into the cosmic unknown. Think about the Mars rovers. When Spirit and Opportunity landed on the red planet, they carried patches of the flag, made from the aluminum recovered from the World Trade Center towers after 9/11s. Talk about symbolism. From a site of tragedy and resilience here on Earth, to a distant planet, carried by robots exploring the possibilities of life beyond our home. It's a powerful narrative of remembrance, hope, and an unwavering commitment to the future. And then there's the International Space Station, a true marvel of human collaboration. Astronauts from various nations live and work together, orbiting our planet. The American flag, alongside flags of other participating nations, proudly adorns its interior and sometimes even ventures outside during Here, the flag represents not just national identity, but also a crucial part of a global effort toward scientific discovery and peaceful cooperation in space. It's a reminder that while we have our individual identities, we are also part of something much larger, working together for the benefit of all humanity. The flag's journey isn't just about planting it somewhere new. It's also about what it represents when it returns. Think of the flags that have flown into space and returned to Earth, becoming treasured artifacts. They carry not just the physical dust of space, but the stories of the missions, the courage of the astronauts, and the collective effort of thousands of people on the ground who made those missions possible. These flags become tangible links between our terrestrial home and the vast universe beyond. They inspire awe, curiosity, and a renewed sense of purpose. So, from the rugged terrain of Iwo Jima to the dusty plains of the moon, and even further into the cold vacuum of space, the Stars and Stripes has truly traveled beyond imagination. It's transformed from a symbol of earthly struggles into a symbol of human aspiration and exploration. It reminds us that our potential knows no bounds, and that with courage, determination, and a bit of cosmic inspiration, we can achieve anything we set our minds to. What do you think's the most inspiring journey the flag has taken? Let me know in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this cosmic exploration, please hit that like button, subscribe for more amazing stories, and share this video with a friend who loves space and history. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Have you ever really looked at the American flag? Not just glanced at it, but truly seen it. This piece of cloth, these stars and stripes, it's more than just a national emblem. It's a canvas onto which we project our deepest feelings about our country. It's been raised in triumph on distant battlefields and distant moons. It's been draped over the caskets of heroes, a final, silent tribute. It's waved at parades, clutched by new citizens, and saluted by school children. In these moments, it's a symbol of unity, of shared ideals, of patriotism in its purest form. It represents the U.S. and U.S., a collective identity we all share. But that's only half the story, isn't it? The very same flag has been burned in protest, worn as a rebellious statement, and held upside down as a signal of distress. For some, these acts are the ultimate disrespect. For others, they are the ultimate expression of the very freedoms the flag is supposed to represent. This is the great paradox of the flag. It stands for a nation that guarantees the right to speak freely, even if that speech is critical of the nation itself. When someone burns the flag, are they destroying a symbol, or are they using it in the most potent way possible to demand that the nation live up to its own ideals? Let's travel back to the Vietnam War era. The country was deeply divided. Protesters, many of them young, felt their government was engaged in an unjust war. How could they show the depth of their opposition? They used the flag. Abbie Hoffman, a famous activist, was arrested for wearing a shirt that looked like the flag. Others set it on fire at rallies. To them, the flag represented a government they no longer trusted, a system they felt was failing. They weren't necessarily rejecting the asterisk idea of America, but the asterisk reality of what America was doing. They were using the most powerful symbol they had to shout, "This is not what we stand for." This ignited a huge debate. The Supreme Court eventually stepped in, and in the landmark 1989 case, Texas v. Johnson they ruled that burning the flag was a form of symbolic speech protected by the First Amendment. The court's decision essentially said that the government can't force patriotism. True loyalty must be earned, not mandated. This wasn't the first time the flag became a flashpoint. Think about the civil rights movement. For African Americans fighting against segregation and systemic injustice, the flag could be a complicated symbol. On one hand, it represented the promise of equality and freedom laid out in the Constitution. On the other, it flew over a nation that denied them their basic rights. Activists would march with the flag, strategically using it to say, "We are Americans too. We demand the full rights and protections that this flag promises." They were claiming they're part of the American story, using the symbol of the nation to hold the nation accountable. By carrying the flag, they weren't just protesting. They were reappropriating it, insisting that its promise of liberty and justice for all must include them. Now, let's fast forward to more recent times. After 9/11s, the flag was everywhere. It hung from overpasses, flew from car antennas, and appeared on countless front porches. It was a symbol of national unity, of shared grief, and of unwavering resolve. In that moment of crisis, the flag brought people together. It wasn't about politics, it was about solidarity. It said, "We are wounded, but we are not broken. We are united." This was a powerful display of patriotism, a collective embrace of the flag as a source of comfort and strength. It showed how, in times of external threat, the flag can instantly transform back into a symbol that binds millions of people together, transcending all other divisions. Yet, even in the 21st century, the flag continues to be a central figure in our cultural and political debates. Think about the controversies surrounding athletes, kneeling during the national anthem. For players like Colin Kaepernick, taking a knee was a silent, respectful protest against police brutality and racial inequality. It was a way to use their platform to draw attention to a critical issue. They weren't disrespecting the flag or the military, they argued, but were instead asking the nation to confront its shortcomings. However, for many others, seeing someone kneel while the flag was displayed was deeply offensive. They saw it as a rejection of the country, a slap in the face to those who have served and sacrificed. This debate reveals just how differently we can interpret the same action. Is kneeling an act of protest or an act of disrespect? Can it be both? It forces us to ask, what does it truly mean to honor the flag? Is it the physical act of standing and saluting, or is it the act of fighting to make the country a better place? And it's not just about kneeling. The flag is worn on clothing, sometimes as a fashion statement, sometimes as a political one. It's used in advertising to sell trucks and beer. Some people fly it every day, while others only bring it out on the 4th of July. Each of these choices says something about our relationship with our country and with each other. There are even official rules, the U.S. Flag Code, that dictate how the flag should be handled. For example, it should never touch the ground or be used as apparel. But these rules are rarely enforced. This informal approach allows the flag to be a living, breathing symbol, constantly being reinterpreted by new generations. Its meaning isn't fixed in a rulebook. It's forged in the streets, in stadiums, and in our own hearts. So, what is the flag? Is it a sacred object or a piece of fabric? The answer is, it's both. Its power comes from this very duality. It represents the nation as it is, with all its flaws and contradictions. And it represents the nation as we hope it can be, that more perfect union we're always striving for. The soldier who salutes it and the protester who bans it are both, in their own ways, engaged in a conversation about what it means to be an American. They are both using the flag to express their vision for the country. One expresses love through reverence. The other expresses love through criticism. A tough love that demands better. This piece of cloth has absorbed our history, our conflicts, our hopes, and our fears. It's a mirror reflecting our national soul. It tells the story of our greatest triumphs and our most painful struggles. It's been carried into battle to defend freedom and held by those demanding that freedom be extended to all. It's a symbol of unity that can also highlight our deepest divisions. And maybe that's the point. The flag doesn't belong to one group or one viewpoint. It belongs to all of us. And the ongoing debate over what it means is, in itself, one of the most patriotic acts of all. It's the sound of a living, breathing democracy, constantly questioning, challenging, and redefining itself. So the next time you see the flag, think about the stories it could tell. The story of the soldier raising it on Iwo Jima, the story of the civil rights marcher carrying it in Selma, story of the student protesting a war, the story of the new citizen waving it with tears in their eyes. Each act, whether of love or anger, adds another thread to its rich and complex tapestry. The flag doesn't have a single, simple meaning. Its meaning is the sum of all our stories. Thank you so much for joining me on this exploration today. If this conversation sparked some thoughts, I'd love to hear them in the comments below. What does the flag mean to you? And if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing for more deep dives into the symbols that shape our world. See you next time. Have you ever looked at the American flag and thought, is this it? Is this the final version? It's a sea of 50 stars, perfectly arranged, representing the 50 states. It feels complete, permanent, almost set in stone. But what if I told you that the story of the flag, just like the story of the United States, might not be over? What if there's another chapter waiting to be written? Another star waiting to be added? Today, we're diving into a fascinating question. Will there ever be a 51-star flag? This isn't just a design exercise. It's a conversation about the very identity and future of the nation. Let's rewind a bit. The flag's design has always been a living document. The first official flag in 1777 had 13 stars and 13 stripes for the 13 colonies. The rule was simple: add a star and a stripe for each new state. But when Vermont and Kentucky joined, they added 2 stars and 2 stripes, making it 15 of each. You can see where this is going, right? By the time more states were ready to join, Congress realized that adding a new stripe for every state would eventually turn the flag into a giant, unmanageable piece of fabric. Imagine a flag with 50 stripes. It would look more like a beach towel. So, in 1818, they made a crucial decision. They passed the Flag Act, which set the number of stripes permanently back to 13, honoring the original colonies. From then on, only a new star would be added for each new state. This star would be officially added on the 4th of July following the state's admission to the Union. This system has been in place ever since. The last time we added stars was in 1959 and 1964, Alaska and Hawaii. The 50-star flag we know today was actually designed by a 17-year-old high school student, Robert Guy Heft, for a class project. He got a B-, by the way. His teacher promised to change the grade if Congress accepted the design. Well, they did, and his teacher kept his word, changing the grade to an A. It's an incredible piece of American trivia. For over 60 years, that 50-star design has been the longest-running version of the U.S. flag in the nation's history. It's become so familiar that it's hard to imagine it any other way. But the United States has a history of expansion and change. The question of new states isn't just a historical footnote. It's a contemporary debate. So, who are the contenders for that 51st star? The most prominent candidates are Washington, D.C., and Puerto Rico. Let's start with DC. The District of Columbia has more residents than both Vermont and Wyoming. Its citizens pay federal taxes, serve in the military, and contribute to the national economy. Yet they don't have a voting representative in Congress. This has led to the famous slogan you see on DC license plates: taxation without representation. It's a powerful echo of the very grievance that sparked the American Revolution. The movement for DC statehood argues that it's a matter of basic civil rights and representation. Then there's Puerto Rico, a U.S. territory since 1898. Puerto Ricans are American citizens. They have a population of over 3 million people, which is more than 20 U.S. states. The debate over Puerto Rico's status is complex, with options ranging from statehood to independence to maintaining its current Commonwealth status. Multiple referendums have been held, and in recent votes, a majority of those who participated have favored statehood. Granting Puerto Rico statehood would be a monumental step, fully integrating the island into the fabric of the Union. There are other, though less likely, possibilities. Some have discussed the potential for a state of Jefferson in Northern California and Southern Oregon, or even splitting massive states like California or Texas. But for now, DC and Puerto Rico are the frontrunners in the statehood conversation. This brings us to the big design challenge. If a 51st state were admitted, what would the flag look like? You can't just stick a star anywhere. The beauty of the current flag lies in its symmetry and order. The field of blue, known as the canton, has a grid of 9 rows, alternating between 6 and 5 stars. It's clean, balanced, and visually pleasing. Adding a 51st star disrupts this perfect grid. So, how do you do it? Fortunately, vexillologists, that's a fancy word for people who study flags, have been thinking about this for decades. The U.S. Army's Institute of Heraldry, the official body responsible for flag design, already has several contingency plans ready to go. The most popular proposed designs for a 51-star flag are elegant solutions that maintain the flag's dignity. One common design features a circular pattern. Imagine a central star, surrounded by a ring of 10 stars, and then a larger outer ring of 40 stars. It's symbolic, with the central star, perhaps representing the Union itself or the new state, and it creates a dynamic, visually interesting pattern. Another strong contender arranges the stars in alternating rows of 9 and 8. You'd have 3 rows of 9 stars and 3 rows of 8 stars, totaling 51. This would be very similar to our current flag, preserving that familiar rectangular feel while neatly incorporating the new star. It's a solution that feels both fresh and traditional. It respects the history of the flag while allowing for its evolution. The very existence of these designs is a testament to the idea that the nation is prepared for change. The flag isn't a static symbol. It's a dynamic one. It's meant to reflect the country as it is, not just as it was. Each star tells a story of growth, debate, and a new group of people joining the American experiment. Adding a 51st star would be a powerful statement that this experiment is still ongoing. Think about it. The flag is a visual representation of the motto E pluribus unum. Out of many, one. Each star is unique, representing a state with its own culture, history, and people. But together, they form a single, unified constellation. A 51st star wouldn't just be an extra dot of white on a field of blue. It would symbolize a new chapter, a new voice, and a new perspective being added to the national conversation. It would signify that the United States is still a work in progress, a nation that can adapt, grow, and redefine itself. Of course, the path to statehood is political and deeply complex. It's not as simple as drawing up a new flag. It involves acts of Congress, political will, and the consent of the people in the territories themselves. But the fact that we can even have this conversation, that we can envision a flag with 51 stars, or even 52, is a beautiful thing. It shows that the principles the flag stands for, liberty, representation, and the pursuit of a more perfect union, are still alive and kicking. The flag is more than just fabric and thread. It's a symbol of our shared history and our collective future. It has flown over battlefields, on the surface of the moon, and at countless community parades. It has been a source of immense pride and, at times, a focus of protest and debate. This is what makes it so powerful. It reflects our triumphs, our struggles, and our endless capacity for change. So, will we ever see a 51-star flag? Only time will tell. But the designs are ready. The proposals exist. The flag, like the nation it represents, may not be done evolving. It stands as a silent promise that the story of America is still being written, one star at a time. What do you think? Should we add a new state? And which 51-star design do you like the best? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the future of the flag. Thanks for joining me on this journey through American history and its possible future. If you found this interesting, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the symbols and stories that shape our world. We'll see you in the next video. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going on a journey, not across land or sea, but through time, stitched into the very fabric of a nation. We're talking about the American flag, a symbol so familiar, yet holding a history far more dynamic than many of us realize. Did you know the flag we see today is the 27th official version? That's right, 27 times reborn. Each version tells a story, not just of adding stars, but of a nation growing, changing, and constantly redefining itself. This isn't just a piece of cloth. It's a living document, a visual chronicle of America's journey. So, let's unfurl this incredible history together. It all begins in 1777. The Revolutionary War is raging, and the young colonies, united in their fight for independence, need a symbol. The Second Continental Congress passes the Flag Act, declaring that the flag of the United States be 13 stripes, alternate red and white, that the Union be 13 stars, white in a blue field, representing a new constellation. Think about that phrase. A new constellation. It's pure poetry. It captures the hope and ambition of a nation being born. But the act was wonderfully vague. It didn't specify the arrangement of the stars, leading to a burst of creative interpretations. The most famous, of course, is the Betsy Ross design, with its iconic circle of stars, symbolizing that no one state was above another. This first flag wasn't just a banner for a new country. It was a bold declaration of unity and equality, stitched with the threads of revolution. For nearly 2 decades, the 13-star flag flew proudly. But America was a nation on the move. In 1795, 2 new states, Vermont and Kentucky, joined the Union. This posed a question. How does the flag reflect this growth? The answer came with the Second Flag Act. Congress decided to add not just 2 new stars, but 2 new stripes as well, bringing the total to 15 of each. This is the very flag that flew over Fort McHenry during the War of 1812, the one that inspired Francis Scott Key to pen the words that would become the national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner. Imagine seeing that massive 15-stripe, 15-star banner still waving after a night of relentless bombardment. It was a powerful testament to American resilience. For a moment, it seemed this would be the new tradition. Add a star and a stripe for every new state. But as you can imagine, with a nation destined to expand, that would quickly become a bit cluttered. The country was growing faster than anyone could have predicted. Tennessee, Ohio, Louisiana, Indiana, and Mississippi all joined the Union in quick succession. By 1818, the 15-stripe flag was looking outdated. It became clear that adding a stripe for every state was impractical. The flag would start to look more like a beach towel than a national emblem. So, Congress acted again, passing a third and final Flag Act. This was a brilliant compromise. They decided to return the number of stripes to the original 13, forever honoring the founding colonies. From that point forward, only a star would be added to the blue Union for each new state. This act established the design principle we still use today. It was a nod to both history and the future, honoring the foundation while making room for endless growth. The flag now had a system. It could evolve without losing its core identity. The first flag under this new act featured 20 stars, and it marked a new era of westward expansion. The 19th century was a period of explosive growth, and the flag was its constant companion. With each new state added, from Illinois to California, a new star found its home in the canton. The flag became a visual representation of manifest destiny, the belief in America's divinely ordained expansion from coast to coast. Each new star told a story of pioneers, of land treaties, of conflicts, and of dreams. The flag with 33 stars flew during the Pony Express. The 34-star flag, which included Kansas, was the flag of the Union during the Civil War. Imagine the poignancy of that. Even as the nation was tearing itself apart, the flag held a star for a state that was at the very heart of the conflict over slavery. President Lincoln refused to remove the stars of the seceded states, insisting that the Union was perpetual and unbreakable. In this, the flag became a symbol not just of what the nation was, but of what it was fighting to remain. A single, indivisible whole. After the Civil War, the nation began to heal and continue its expansion. The flag's star count climbed steadily. We went from 37 stars with the inclusion of Nebraska in 1867 to 45 stars by 1896, representing a country that had settled its continental territory. This period, the late 19th and early 20th centuries, saw America rise as a global power. The 45-star flag flew during the Spanish-American War, waving over Theodore Roosevelt and the Rough Riders. 10 came a 46-star flag with Oklahoma, the 48-star flag with Arizona and New Mexico in 1912. This 48-star version would become the longest-serving flag in American history up to that point, flying for 47 years. It saw the nation through 2 world wars and the Great Depression. For generations of Americans, this was the asterisk American flag. It represented a solidified, mature nation, a country that had weathered immense challenges and emerged as a leader on the world stage. Then came the modern era. For nearly half a century, the 48-star flag was a constant, but the world was changing, and so was America's place in it. After World War II, the question of statehood for the territories of Alaska and Hawaii gained momentum. In 1959, the nation celebrated as Alaska, the vast last frontier, became the 49th state. For a brief period of 1 year, the 49-star flag flew across the country. Its unique 7x7 grid of stars is a fun piece of trivia for flag enthusiasts. But its time was short. The very next year, in 1960, Hawaii, the beautiful island chain in the Pacific, was admitted as the 50th state. This led to the flag we know and recognize today. The creation of our current 50-star flag even has a fascinating story. The design was actually the brainchild of a 17-year-old high school student named Robert G. Heft, who created it for a class project. He initially got a B-, but his teacher promised to change the grade if his design was adopted by Congress. Well, it was, and his teacher kept his word. And so we arrive at today, with the 27th and current version of the American flag. 50 stars, arranged in offset rows, and 13 stripes, a design that is both orderly and symbolic. It represents a nation that stretches from the Atlantic to the Pacific, a diverse tapestry of 50 states united as one. But the story isn't over. The flag remains a living document. There are ongoing discussions about potential statehood for places like Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C. if a 51st state were ever to be added. The flag would change again. A new star would be added on the 4th of July following the admission of the new state. This inherent adaptability is the genius of its design. It's a symbol that was never meant to be frozen in time, but to grow alongside the country it represents, from a simple circle of 13 stars to the neat grid of 50 we see today. The flag's evolution is America's evolution. It tells a story of revolution, of westward expansion, of a nation divided and reunited, and of a country that grew to span a continent and beyond. Each of the 27 versions is a snapshot in time, a chapter in the ongoing American story. It's a story of struggle, triumph, and the constant pursuit of a more perfect union. The flag is more than just a symbol of patriotism. It's a history lesson, a work of art, and a promise. It reminds us of where we've been, and holds a space for where we have yet to go. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the 27 lives of the American flag. It's a fascinating piece of history that's often hiding in plain sight. What does the flag mean to you? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to read your thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more deep dives into the stories that shape our world. We'll see you in the next one.